Good evening. Good evening. Yes. Welcome to the Community Development and Urban Planning Committee. And today is May 8th, 2025. I am the chair, Council Member at Large Maria Cabrera. At this time, I will call the roll of the committee members first. Shanae Darby. Present. Nathan Field.
Present.
Alexander Hackett.
Here.
Yolanda McCoy. Yolanda McCoy. Kobe Owens.
Here.
Christian Willauer. Christian Willauer. Ernest Trippy Congo.
Here.
Thank you. Also joining me, we have Councilmember Bracy online. Okay, thank you. We're going to start with the first item on the agenda. Actually, Councilmember Darby, do you mind if we start with the other two first and then do that one last? It's up to you because it's your legislation just to, since we're, probably going to be in a nice debate on that one. Okay, great. Well, let's start with your first item, the resolution for the audit of the Wilmington Housing Partnership. Councilmember Darby, can you turn your mic on, please?
Okay. Yeah, now I'm bringing up the stuff for the Wilmington Housing Partnership. I had everything up for rent stabilization.
Councilmember McCoy join us? Okay.
Hello.
There she is. Councilmember McCoy, are you prepared to start with your legislation and then? Oh, no, I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. I got my stuff up.
You
for,
found it. Okay, we're
yeah.
going to go with Councilmember Darby's resolution. We'll go with you next, and then we will finish with the third item on the agenda, which is the first item.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. For that.
Thank you.
Of course. Yeah, so this resolution is requesting an audit of the Wilmington Housing Partnership. So just to give some background, back in 2019, the Wilmington City Council passed a resolution directing the auditing department to conduct a forensic audit of the Wilmington Housing Partnership. There was questions around approximately $3.4 million in loan proceeds. This specific the audit never happened. So Wilmington Housing Partnership, they were an outside entity who said that they were going to do development, got money through the city, and did not complete the development. And we still to this day do not understand what happened to the millions of dollars through the Wilmington Housing Partnership. The city council before my last term asked for accountability and never got accountability. So I don't care when an act was committed. Accountability still needs to happen. Transparency still needs to happen. Taxpayer dollars were impacted by this, and there's still no answers. The same bad actors who were a part of the Wilmington Housing Partnership are still a part of organizations today who are developing and a part of housing partnership, nonprofits, and programs right now, and they have to be held accountable for their actions. So this piece of resolution is calling again for our auditor to do an audit of Wilmington Housing Partnership, and it has the details in regards to the specifics of it, but it's really around what happened to that money. Where did it go, and why didn't the projects get completed along with the missing money? Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions from council members? Starting with the committee members. Are there any hands raised? Okay, not seeing any. Since this is a resolution, it does not have to be voted out of committee, and it will come forth in an upcoming meeting. Do we have the dates for these meetings? Would it be the 22nd or in June? If not May 22nd, then the first Thursday in June. Okay, we will proceed now with Councilmember McCoy. Ordinance 25-018, an ordinance to amend Chapter 34 of the City Code regarding escrow.
She's coming in now.
Oh, okay. Councilmember McCoy is on her way in. Would like to recognize Councilmember Christian Willauer as present.
Present. Thank you so much for your patience.
No worries, take your time. You have all the time you need. We did move a little bit out of order,
Thank you.
so.
Okay, so, all right, so just wanted to make you aware that my ordinance is to amend Chapter 34, City Code regarding escrow. I did just receive some information. Oh, excuse me, I'm out of breath. As I did just receive some information from the administration. Now, mind you, I actually have been in communication with the administration previous to this about the escrow ordinance. They do have some concerns. I understand, but I wanted to still move forward. What I would like to do is, if once we get this off the committee, I will not be moving it to the full floor until we have all of the procedure worked out. So I just want to make certain I state that. So what it is if people are not aware of the escrow ordinance, I wanted to make you aware that this is something different for the city of Wilmington compared to the state. The state offers withholding, but the city of Wilmington wanted to make certain that we gave a little bit more assistance to our residents by offering an escrow account. An account is basically for those who may have a little bit of difficulty with the withholding portion, which is your responsibility to hold on to those funds on your own. And if you may not have the discipline, an account would actually be better off for you. It is to make certain that you have somewhere safe for those funds to go, that your landlord is being contacted. LNI has been informed, and they will be helping out as well before we to make certain that everything is in place before any of those funds will be released. It is, hold on, I'm sorry. Let me go back to what I actually stated. Sorry about that. Okay. So instead of just keeping the money for yourself, the tenants can now put the withheld rent into a secure account managed by the city, and this shows that they are not just skipping payments, that they're serious about the problem and want to get it fixed. The city notifies the landlord, helps inspect the property, and holds the funds until a judge decides, until it's decided by L&I that the issue has been fixed. Once the landlord and tenant reach that agreement, it is a way to make certain that then the funds will be released to the landlord. And it is a way to protect the renters while being fair to landlords. And that is what I decided to come up with.
Thank you. Councilmember Owens?
Yes. First off, I would like to thank Councilwoman McCoy for bringing this forward again. I know you worked on it last session, and I know the state also worked on this. This is extremely important for a city that is majority renters right now. So I would like to be added as a co-sponsor. I know I sent the email already about this, but I would just like the record to reflect that I would like to be added as a co-sponsor.
I also have the administration has someone here to speak on this, but Councilmember Willauer, you may proceed. Whomever's here from the administration, you can come forward and sit at one of the desks so you can also chime in.
Yeah, I also want to thank Councilmember McCoy. Just echoing what Councilmember Owen said, renters sometimes face situations where it's conditions they shouldn't have to live in. I hear this all the time from residents. They ask their landlord to make repairs. Landlord doesn't always make repairs. And I feel that this gives tenants an extra bit of leverage while making sure that they are not keeping that money in a safe place so that it is available to the landlord when the problem's corrected. So I want to really thank Councilmember McCoy for all your hard work on this topic and for putting forth this legislation, and I'd like to be added as a co-sponsor.
Thank you, Councilmember. At this time, I would like to recognize Daniel Walker from the administration. He is one of the deputy, your title. So I would say Deputy Chief of Staff, but there's a different hierarchy, how you broke it down.
Thank you, Chairwoman Cabrera. My name is Daniel Walker. I'm the Deputy Chief of Staff for Policy and Communication in the Office of the Mayor. The Mayor's office stands opposed to this legislation. We do appreciate Councilwoman McCoy's willingness to hold and enter into more conversations with us, but we think it's important to outline some of the administrative impact this would have. Not only will this bring with it a fiscal note simply for our office of over $250,000, this does not include any administrative burden that will be held because of the treasurer's office has a component to this bill as well, and they will be best to speak to that fact. But it also outlines a number of steps that our license and inspections department has to carry out, which includes ensuring compliance and eligibility with the provisions stated in the ordinance, which our teams are not able or trained to do. Essentially, we are going to be requiring license and inspection officials to interpret contractual agreements between an individual and their landlord, which is an entity and in many cases should be registered as a business. This has the potential to open the city up to liability and litigation. And additionally, we do believe that tenants already have the authority to withhold 2/3 of their rent. But we, the city, should not be playing a role. This is a role best suited for the court. You may recall the city of Wilmington had this provision in its code before, but we had it when we had a municipal court, and we no longer have that municipal court. These sort of actions, which was already debated and pushed forward at the state level, at that time was determined to be best suited for a court to decide. City of Wilmington license and inspection officials are not the best individuals to hold this function, and again, opens us up to liability and will come at a cost to the taxpayer.
Thank you. Councilmember Darby?
One, I would like to be added as a co-sponsor. I'm in support of this legislation. There are a few things. I just think that the excuse of training and even that it would be an overbearing cost from the administration, I just don't think that's a fair thing to say. Training, you can train someone to do this. We actually have too many inspectors for a city of our size. So one of those inspectors can get trained on how to do rent escrow and to be able to implement this out for our city. We have too many. We just went to a city of Lancaster, and they're more efficient and effective than we are as a city at running L&I, and they have less inspectors, and they're a city of similar size to the city of Wilmington. So we've seen it in play and know that it's possible in other cities for something, for them to operate with not as many inspectors. So we can take one of those inspectors, and one of those inspectors we can go find a training for them to do so that they can learn the proper process to this. So I think that's just a poor excuse to say that it's going to cost too much in the training, when those are all things that we just need to be more efficient with the manpower that we do have. Also, the municipal courts they were merged with the Court of Common Pleas. The municipal court was taken out of the management of the city and then merged with the Court of Common Pleas. So when people keep saying that we don't have one anymore, we actually do, and we need to, as a city council and as a government, learn how to operate and work with that, since we now know that it's not a way, it merged into the Court of Common Pleas. So I just think it's a poor excuse. I'm in support of it. You can add me as a co-sponsor. The city of Wilmington and our residents need this. I remember when I was a renter and I had a bad landlord, I didn't have anywhere to put the money. For me, I had to put it up. I had to give it to my mom, put it to the side. But this gives a safe place, an accountable place where the landlord knows and the renter knows that it's safe. It's not going to get spent. It creates a formality to the process and makes our renters and our constituents feel more supported. So I'm in support of this piece of legislation. The administration has to figure out a better way to be more efficient with the manpower and the funds that they have. Thank you.
Councilmember Darby? Council members that have comments before we move on to the public. Councilman Hackett?
No, I was looking at the screen, just letting you know.
Okay. Also want to recognize the councilman Johnson has joined us. Anyone else from the committee that has any comments? And then I will proceed to the other council members. No? Okay, Councilmember McCoy.
I didn't know whether or not I should be closing out, but I just wanted to.
Well, Councilman Johnson has his
Okay.
hand up. You may proceed.
But I get one.
Okay, he probably.
Yes,
just want- Okay.
I appreciate, again, I know I've talked to Councilmember McCoy about this as well. I think there's a play here where we do obviously merge kind of with the state and work with the state in concert with them. Because there is, the cost concern is not a thing, and I think it's not a reason not to do it, but I think we do have to look at logistically how we can work with the Court of Common Pleas or the Justice of the Peace Court, because actually Justice of the Peace Court has jurisdiction over landlord-tenant complaints. So there's going to need to be some tie-in with them. So I know Councilman McCoy is going to be holding it. I can't, well, past this, we still would need to talk about that, because I think there would need to be some kind of MOU or something with Justice of the Peace Court or the Chief Justice of the court, so this can actually get implemented. Because the worst thing would be to have a program that we really can't implement because we don't have the authority. So that's something to think about.
Thank you, Councilman Johnson. At this point, I will open it up for brief comments if anyone from the audience wants to speak. Otherwise, this is you may proceed. Please state your name, and you may go next. This is a resolution, so we do not have to vote on it. You come right up here to the microphone. Watch
people
your
to
step
start
when you
lining
come
up?
up.
It's an ordinance.
We're gonna
The
start lining
ordinance.
up.
It's an ordinance.
Oh, wait, that's right, it's an ordinance, sorry. But are you holding it, Councilmember McCoy? Because she
No.
has the
Okay. No, I'm actually not holding this. So what what I stated that even if it passes committee, I was not going to put it for the vote on the floor, full floor, until we actually have a procedure worked out with administration.
Okay, great. So we are going to take public comment, but what I want the public to understand is happening is this. We are going to vote this, we're going to take a vote on it tonight to come out of committee, but it's not going to go to a meeting, a council meeting, until further work is done between Councilmember McCoy and the administration. So most likely there will be a finished product. It may not look exactly like this. It might look a little differently, but we are proceeding, just that it's going to be tweaked to make it work. So just keep that in mind when you make your comments. Thank you. You may proceed. State your name.
Hi, my name is Chantel Newman. I'm currently getting evicted. I am a renter. I'm currently in the city of Wilmington, as y'all know it, but I am also a tribal member, and I have declared my sovereign status. And I think it's very important to consider the tribal part of the city and the state. And I just wanted to let y'all know that the National Environment Policy Act is included in this, and the National Historic Preservation Act, and the engagement of the species, the endangered species. I also would like to also let y'all know that the tribal, it maintains exclusive jurisdiction over its territory as a recognized federal Indian law, including but not limited to Worcesters versus Georgia, 1832, McGritt versus Oklahoma 2020, and the Indian Self-Determination Education Assistance Act. Now, I believe with this all running together with the escrow, I was forcefully evicted by an army because of Mrs. Elizabeth Long and Dana Long. I was a 2014 Section 8 complaint. And I think it's important that we all come together, because I was evicted and then coming home trying to get reentry service and going through trying to DoorDash and my car is hanging because I'm getting hit and playing bumping cards with somebody trying to keep me silent. And we have a lot of bad actors. Delaware is the mecca of corporate America. And I believe that we have to hold much accountability, that when you're letting the actors come in, you have to decide which ones are really here to help y'all rebuild or help move us out. If my landlord is in here today, hi. But I almost fell through the floor. I just had a baby. They moved a woman underneath me. I can't have my air on, because if I do, it'll leak and flood down there. So I'm currently really, really hot.
10 seconds.
Yes. So I just would also like y'all to take in consideration of that, and also please help me with stabilized housing.
Thank you. I want to make it very clear, the comments that you're coming to make are about the rent escrow. Anyone who wants to speak to the rent stabilization, we need to present that, and we're going to proceed to that. That's the next item on the agenda. Are you speaking to the rent escrow? State your name. Thank you.
vote yes on rent stabilization. But yes, I'm here to speak on rent escrow. This is actually super important for the city. There are a lot of renters who are in the city who actually are trying their best to get their landlords to fix their property. And the only way that they have any type of accountability is to withhold their rent, but they have nowhere to put their rent. And so we want to say thank you to Leala McCoy for putting up this legislation, and we hope that City Council will pass it. Thank you.
Please be careful with the step and state your name.
Hello, I'm Bithin Roy. I'm a landlord, and I oppose this rent escrow because I think it's we already have a check in place. We have a LNI. They can come and they find something not working correctly or something broken. They always give us a citation to the landlord, and they have the authority to withhold They have the authority to put a civil fine per violation up to $250 per day. So already we have that check in place. So having an escrow is just, as Mayor Office said, unnecessary burden and administrative overhead, and that is going to make the entire process really slow. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, Councilmember McCoy, if you don't have any, does anyone have any further comments?
Yes, I
Anyone
do.
online?
Okay. All right, so I just wanted to kind of speak to what the administration had brought forth. Something.
Excuse me. Did you want to speak to the rent escrow? For rent stabilization? No, rent escrow. Okay. Thank you. Continue, Councilmember McCoy.
All right, so I wanted to speak to what the administration has stated. So when it comes to what's going on with our LNI, first of all, no contract really needs to be translated. LNI already is trained enough to know exactly what's going on. If they go into a property, they can deem whether or not it is uninhabitable or not. And these are the types of things that we're looking for. This already going to be really explained out clearly in the affidavit what things can be held for escrow and what things cannot. So I don't want a landlord being nervous that we're going to be holding, that their tenant is going to be asking for escrow because they have old carpet or something like that. There are issues like, no heat, no water, holes in roofs and things of that nature. There are really drastic issues that need to be addressed fairly quickly, and if your landlord has been informed and they're still not doing anything, that's kind of where the city would come into play. Now, when it comes to the whole thing about the municipal courts, that's kind of the reason why the escrow ordinance has kind of like fell to the wayside for quite some time. It was resurrected basically about 2 years ago, and it actually passed. Last term, it passed. What it was vetoed by our previous administrator, mayor. And what it is that we believe that the reason why I did not fight back is because I believe that our former representative was able to carry it. Unfortunately, it did not go anywhere in the state. And so I felt as though the need still is here in the city of Wilmington. So we had to bring it back. Now, I understand what the administration is stating and when it comes to the finances and such, but the treasurer who actually states that it may cost more, he's the same treasurer that looked over it 2 years ago. So I don't understand where all of these new numbers are coming from. So I just wanted to make certain that that is clear, that I have been very transparent in this whole process. And I do still believe that this is a tool that the city of Wilmington residents need.
Thank you, Councilmember McCoy. We may have someone online that wants to speak to the rent escrow, and we don't want to miss anyone, so I will allow that to proceed. And Deborah Burgos, if you're still with us and you're speaking on the rent escrow, please proceed. Okay. Zarita Washington, are you speaking to the rent escrow? Zarita Washington, are you still with us? Anita? Okay, how about M. Baker? Or if you're speaking to the rent escrow? M. Baker, are you still with us?
Bless you.
Okay, not hearing anything, we will, we're going to proceed. I'll take a motion
Motion to release.
I think you have to
Second.
state, okay. You have to state the whole name of the, okay, sorry.
Motion
We're
to
good.
release ordinance to amend Chapter 34 of the City Code regarding escrow.
Can we get a
Second.
Thank you. It has been properly moved in second. All in favor, respond with an aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you. Okay, now we're going to proceed to our third item on the agenda, and that is we're going to introduce substitute 1 to ordinance 25-06, an ordinance to amend Chapter 34 of the City Code to provide for residential rent stabilization. The sponsor is Councilmember Darby. You may proceed.
Yes, thank you. So this piece of ordinance legislation that we have today isn't just about protecting the poor. This is about working class and middle class residents, the backbone of our city, who are being priced out of their homes year after year. Landlords and developers have gotten comfortable treating people like ATM machines, assuming, oh, they can afford it. And each year, rent increases piling up with no accountability. This ordinance does not stop rent increases and simply says you cannot increase rent excessively. That's it. So if landlords are upset, it's not because this is unfair. It's because their unchecked and unethical behavior is finally being challenged. I heard the argument. This places the blame on housing providers. But let's be honest. Excessive rent has become normalized. And if you're not part of the problem, this ordinance won't impact you negatively. This bill doesn't penalize fair landlords. It highlights the ones who have been exploiting the people. To the landlords who say this is bad policy, I hear you. I welcome collaboration, and I agree. We need long-term solutions that grow our affordable housing supply, which we are working on as a city council. But protecting tenants from 20, 30%, or 50% rent hikes overnight is not bad policy. It's basic fairness. We can walk and chew gum at the same time. We can regulate unethical rent spikes while also increasing housing stock. That's exactly what we're doing. Some landlords may claim they're selling their properties because of rent stabilization. Let's address that. Rent stabilization does not automatically cause landlords to sell. It simply asks them to be fair. Yes, some landlords focused only on short-term profit might sell if they can't exploit tenants, but responsible landlords who are in it for stable income and community investment will remain, and many will continue to thrive in our city. After all, the law allows for annual increases based on inflation up to 3%. In fact, in other cities with rent stabilization, many landlords adjust, not flee. Real estate remains a strong investment, and if landlords are leaving because they can't have excessive rent increases on tenants, maybe that's not the type of housing we want here in our city anyway. Legislation will solve Wilmington's affordable housing crisis, and I'll never claim it would. But I'm working with council colleagues on multiple initiatives to create, preserve, and sustain affordable housing options for our residents. This bill is built on accountability and flexibility because our goal is housing justice, not red tape. This bill is a check on exploitation and a stand for fairness. It's plain and simple. So I do want to go over a few things about the bill, and then I'll have my council colleagues ask some questions. Let me bring it up here. So I want to just clarify some things in the bill. So rent stabilization does not apply to affordable or government subsidized housing, properties with 3 or fewer units where the landlord lives in one of the units, single cooperative units, or new buildings finished at the passage of this ordinance for at least 10 years of its existence. So we're allowing new developers to come in and not have this regulation on them for up to 10 years just to give them a little break to, recoup some of the expenses that they accrued for the development. How will we ensure and landlords receive a fair rate of return on investment, right? So there will be exemptions in this piece of legislation. So if landlords may need to increase rent higher than the allowed limits, they can contact the Department of Land Use and Planning, which will have an established process where landlords can request the high rent increases. But there are specific examples of when they can do that. Changes in property taxes and or insurance premiums. If they have rental unit other than normal wear and tear that's deteriorating. Changes in the number of tenants occupying the rental unit, planned or completed renovations that are needed to comply with local health and safety codes, unavoidable changes in maintenance and operating expenses. So it allows for them to still have the return on investment when need be, right? They just have to let us know, hey, we're renovating our whole unit. This is the cost of it. I need to increase my rent by this, and then the city will let them know if that's allowable. Enforcement will be through the Department of License and Inspection, and then the city is going to say, oh, we don't have the funding or training or the personnel. We have too many L&I inspectors in our city. That's unexcusable. We need to be a little bit more efficient with the money that we have and the people and the manpower that we have before that conversation about we don't have the funds or the people to execute this for enforcement. So those are some of the key things on the piece of legislation. I'm welcome and looking forward to opening up the floor to my council colleagues to answer any questions that you may have.
Council colleagues, if you'd like to start.
I guess I'll
Councilman
start.
Hackett.
Thank you for allowing for me to speak today. I will like to ask the sponsor if she would hold this ordinance so that we could sit back. And my only concern here is I know if some people have known me as I ran and I talked about affordable housing and rate thank you. I was getting there. And, my biggest thing is always, as we came into this 109, how do we do things the right way? Not just sitting here saying, hey, listen, something has to be done, but making sure that we do it the right way the first time. As we go through the ordinance and we talked about so many different things, one of my biggest things was the fines, and having questions around, is this going to generate revenue? If it does generate revenue, where does this revenue go? Is there a fund that's going to be placed for our renters in its generating of revenue? Also, I think it also said there's no fiscal impact as well. But we also know that's possibly not true if we're going to possibly be doing fines. And I'm asking to myself, with the fiscal impact, you went to Lancaster and you talked about L&I, and we talk about our L&I today, and you say, hey, listen, we got too many people, but we're not effective. So do we create a law that then doesn't get enforced? And we look at this enforcement now. So now we have tenants that saying, hey, listen, my rent went up, or even our landlords on the site to be saying that they're renting to tenants right now. We look at all these different things that need to go into place. I talked to the sponsor and we talked about how can we reform L&I first to make sure that it is being properly put in place for our city to be able to function first before we do any legislation or law that's going to have some type of enforcement behind it. I also look at it and I say, well, how does these mechanics work? We have to go back into our community and be able to tell them exactly how this works. I think we need more time to really be able to map this out so that we can. Now, it's a group that's in here today, but we got 70,000 people that's in the city of Wilmington that needs to understand this. And a lot of council members, a lot of people today, I don't know if we all understand how this is going to function, how is this going to be enforced, where is the fees going, different things to that nature. Like I said before, I think we have to find solutions, and that's just where I'm at.
Thank you, Councilman Hackett. What I'd like to do is, we have someone here from the administration that's going to speak to this that way. If there's any comments and questions you have of them, at least you heard what they had to say, and we can continue the dialogue. Daniel Walker, Chief of Staff for Operations, I believe. I'm not sure. I'll get it together. You got two Chief of Staffs over there. You're asking me to memorize another thing. If you could speak to that, and then council members can, proceed.
Thank you, Chairwoman Cabrera, and thanks for the opportunity to lay out where we are with respect to rent stabilization. First and foremost, I want to say that as an administration, we are nothing but supportive and determined to ensure that affordable housing is a priority and reality for the city of Wilmington. As a matter of fact, Council Member Darby alluded to conversations that we have already been having around affordable housing as well. Again, keeping it a priority and being laser focused. And we did attend the visit, the Lancaster, with a number of members from the city council staff, and look forward to presenting how we are looking at license and inspection within the city of Wilmington. I want to draw attention first and foremost to the rent stabilization because it's more of a function of land use and planning that has additional administrative responsibilities and have, in our regard, less individuals to carry out the mission that has been discussed. Land use and planning has a number of actions within the substitute ordinance, which we appreciate Council Member Darby in her conversations with us that led to this ordinance and some of the changes from its initial presentation. But I want to look at the section that talks about the exemptions, Section 34-201, reasonable return on investment, which does make it allow and mandate that our land use and planning members make a determination on what a reasonable return on investment is. I think first and foremost that our team, this isn't their area to become financing, banking individuals who have to determine how someone makes a profit. They are tasked with ensuring the city itself is planned according to our comprehensive structure and is forward-looking. They are not tasked to be investors. They are not tasked to help and make a determination on what a investment in a property means in terms of an ROI. That is not what they do. In addition to that, in order to comply with the ordinance and ensure enforcement with this ordinance, it would require some additional individuals. This means that our calculated fiscal impact, which is not de minimis, and again, I want to undergird and restate that land use and planning does not have the same number of inspectors that it was purported to have as license and inspections, but it would cost approximately $180,000 its first year of inception. Not to mention that this policy, rent regulation, rent stabilization, rent caps, it's all being used interchangeably, and I know this is focused on rent stabilization, so I want to underscore that point. The data, the research, while well-intended this policy is, there is no clear definitive belief that this actually benefits the people we're here to represent. It will benefit me. And so, what we...
I'm sorry, we're not going to be calling out during this meeting. You will speak and you'll have your time to speak. So I will ask respectfully that when anyone comes to speak, everyone keeps their comments to themselves. We're not going to be doing that screaming, yelling, whether you're in favor of what the person has to say or oppose. We're going to respect everybody's opinion in this chamber tonight while I sit here as the chair of this committee. Thank you. Proceed.
In fact, the only thing this guarantees is that next year, the rent someone is paying today will increase. We know we have rent-burdened individuals in the city of Wilmington. The only proven solution that all the research shows, including research done by the Urban Institute in 2024, which is the only comprehensive multi-jurisdictional look at these sorts of policies, including rent regulation, rent caps, rent stabilization. The only comprehensive look shows that while it's well intended, the only thing it does is in years to come, prices may become more affordable, but it doesn't benefit our low to moderate income families and households. Matter of fact, studies have suggested that those who are wealthier will tend to stay longer in these locations. And so, while we agree that affordable housing is a problem, and while we appreciate the sponsors' willingness to work with us on other solutions, the evidence and data for this policy, there is no guarantee. Matter of fact, every report, every document that I've read, and I've looked at both sides of this argument and both sides of this coin, seem to suggest that it's unclear what the future will hold. And so our position is that we double down on what we know is working and increasing the supply of affordable housing across the city of Wilmington, which has been
Thank you. I do want to add that reading the research on both sides, there were cities that have tried this. It did not go well for them moving forward. But the argument here is that we do need more affordable housing. There are people who are homeless because of it. I do believe that during the COVID times, you know, some landlords did get greedy. They did take advantage of a situation, and it was not fair. At the same time, I hear the other side where people took the ARPA money that they were given to help them pay their rent, and they didn't pay the landlords, and those mortgages still had to be.
True.
ARPA money went to landlords directly. Stop lying, girl.
That some landlords did not get paid, is what they're telling me. So either way, looking around, there are so many sides to this issue, and it is a controversial issue, but we do need help with affordable housing. Now, I appreciate that the administration has been working with each of the council members on ideas, working with Councilmember Darby and how we can revamp, you know, the license and inspection department, how we can do things better and efficiently. So I too, Councilman Darby, kind of echo Councilmember Hackett's thought that can we sit down and really come up with a plan working together that we could really implement versus having it vetoed or voted down, because, and I will share my personal experience. In the last 5 months, I have had 2 people living in my house. One from December through March, 1 week without anybody in my home, and then I took in a 55-year-old homeless woman who is disabled, who now is in a shelter with no guarantee that she will have a home to go to and might end up back in my living room. So I sit on the boards of the affordable housing organizations like Sacred Heart 2. I'm the president of the board. We just broke ground for Villa Maria, building more affordable housing. I'm on Los Jardines. I was with Interfaith Housing. So the work that I do outside, as a volunteer, as a board member with those organizations, as a councilwoman, is all around housing and trying to have not just affordable housing, but housing where landlords keep up those properties so people are not living in deplorable situations. So Councilmember Darby and I share this passion, so there's no denying that, and we will work to it. But that's something to discuss, but let's listen to what other council members have to say. Did you want to speak first? Because Kobe, Councilman Owens
I
has
wanted
his hand.
to
Then Christian
respond.
Willauer first.
I know they had a question about me holding it.
Yeah, that was the initial.
Yeah.
So that was his question. So am I able to answer it?
Yes, you may answer it.
Yeah. So I want to like respectfully decline your request of
No way.
holding it.
Hey, please let her speak.
And the reason why is that we talk about we need more affordable housing. We need more affordable housing. We have a project now where they have a few units, and it took 5 years for them to build those few units, right? So we're talking about building affordable housing, which I think is great, and we all share those same sentiments, but that's going to take years, decades for us to get to the point where we're like, okay, we have enough affordable housing. This right now is a now issue and problem, right? I can't go back and say, oh, you have to decrease your rent. But what I can do in my power sitting here today is say, you can't excessively increase your rent on people. It's unacceptable. It is not okay. And I want to just clarify that with ARPA money, it went direct. It's not the tenant's fault if the landlord didn't get the money. It had to be the state's fault because the money didn't go to the tenant and then to the landlord. They would send it directly to the landlord. So that's not a tenant thing. That's something the landlord's gonna have to take up with the state. And in regards to capacity with land use and planning, you'll have to figure it out. And then L&I reform is happening already. So that's not a conversation like, oh, we have to do it. I've been talking about L&I reform since 2-3 years ago. I've been talking about L&I reform, but now that I am in a new administration, they have been open. And Mayor Carney went to Lancaster with me and with the team of us and had those conversations so we can walk and chew gum at the same time. It doesn't have to be, oh, we have to do this first before this. No, they all can happen at the same time because people are in need today. They're in need right now, not we have to wait 10 years. I'm respectfully declining.
I do follow up on this.
I just want to put one more time that I have reached out to everybody and shared that I've been working on rent stabilization. I have invited people, all city council people, to the city of Lancaster. I put out the invitation. So sit here and act like, oh, we have to do it the right way. Like I haven't been reaching out to people to be a part of this conversation. It's unfair, and y'all keep drawing that fake narrative of me, and it's unacceptable. Yes.
Going to state a follow-up real quick.
Since he was the one who proposed.
Yeah, and I proposed the follow-up. And I just want to state one thing. I've not one time stated that the sponsor had not reached out to make sure that people was a part of the legislation. Mm-hmm. Not one time did I state that. But I did in my argument, and what I said to hold it was simply because I never said that this wasn't the piece of legislation about the rent. We understand that the rent's too high. We understand that. But I am saying the mechanism of the whole system and the implementation of it. See, right now, you got landlords right now, if they don't apply by this, and then next thing you know, you're trying to figure out how we're going to recoup the money or the funds that goes on L&I, and next thing you know, we're sitting here back again with another problem. So I'm just trying to figure out, how do we move forward? How do we sit down? We haven't had conversations or sat down with tenants and landlords.
I did.
And also,
okay. All right, let's not speak out of order, council members.
I'm speaking right now.
Okay.
You get a follow-up when I'm done.
I did.
And also, on top of that, as we sit here and we're talking about this, once again, I never said I've been for affordable housing day in and day out. I think it needs to happen. As a council, as a whole, I've been here for 5 months, and I've sit here and seen how different councilmen, we all have our different visions and different things that we're doing. We have not sat as a council and said, hey, we're going to tackle affordable housing together. So when you say it took 5 years and somebody's sitting and they're saying, oh, they handled this project by themselves, we haven't done anything collectively. So moving forward, I will hope that our council can start doing things collectively.
Thank you, Councilman Hackett. Councilman Owens, before you speak, a council member, Willow, had her name before you, her hands up before yours. I wrote down the order. So, ladies before gentlemen. Thank you.
That is your fault.
Proceed.
Okay, so this legislation is about rent stabilization. It's not rent control. So the letters that we've gotten from DSHA and other places, and a lot of the research that's been brought up, that's been sent to council, are not talking about this ordinance. I want to thank Councilmember Darby, who took the time to talk with anyone who would engage, and has significantly adjusted the legislation from the previous version. So, thank you, Councilwoman Darby, for your willingness to engage with constituents, but also with, people impacted, like the landlords, and other, anybody who had something to say about this legislation. Most rental units in Wilmington are over 100 years old. Rents have gone up a lot. There need to be some limits about how much the rent can go up. That's what this is. We have to start somewhere. We can't say we care about housing affordability and not take any action. So thank you, Councilwoman Darby, for bringing this legislation forward and for the work that you've done to make it happen. I'd like to be added as a co-sponsor.
Councilmember Owens.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I've received a lot of correspondence over the last few days about this. And when I first ran for office, I said I was going to try to listen to everyone as best as possible. I've had hours and hours of conversations over the last few days talking about where I stand on this bill. And again, to both sides, I hear you. But right now, I'm going to speak not just as a councilman, but as a servant of the people. I'm a son of this city. I born and raised here. And I'm someone who believes deep down in my soul that housing is a human right. We're here today to talk about a bill. Yes, it's a policy, it's a proposal, it's a piece of legislation. That is what we are charged to do as members of council. But it's not just words on paper, it's a shield. It's a promise and it's a moral line in the sand that you will not push our people out of their homes, not on our watch, not on this council's watch. Because right now in Wilmington, rent is way too high. The wages are too low, and the patience of our people are wearing very thin. I've heard the cries of a single mother holding the eviction notice in one hand and her child in the other. From the seniors who have built this city are now choosing between their medicine and their rent. From the workers who serve our schools, our streets, our stores, asking, can I afford to live here? Yes, this is a bill. And yes, this is what council is all about. Now, some will say this bill is too bold. Some will say it's too costly. They'll say, let the market work. But the market has no heart. It has not been working for so many. See, the market doesn't know your grandmother. The market doesn't care how long your family has owned the house over East Side. But I think we as a council should say, we care. This bill does not punish landlords. It protects renters. And we must look at it that way. It doesn't stop development. It guides it. It says to developers, come build, invest. We want to work with you. But just do it with justice. Do it with dignity and do it with our community, not at their expense. So let me be clear. When I put my hand on that Bible and took my oath, it was my understanding that we are supposed to be stewards of this city, not just its buildings, but also its people. We are the shepherds, and right now the flock is under attack. So I ask you, my colleagues, my brothers, my sisters, as all public servants, let's get this done. I've taken my time. I've had as many conversations as possible, and I'm still willing to have more. I do want to address a few things. I think I'm the only person on council who was a DHAB navigator. I got to see those cases firsthand during the pandemic, and I know that system very well. And anyone with state experience in here knows that with the DHAP program, there was not a check or a stack of cash handed to the residents. Both the residents and the landlords had to fill out paperwork to make sure they got paid. And it was in a direct deposit way. And I'm just gonna say there was confusion on both sides. That's why navigators were so important. We worked with both the renters and the landlords to make sure that a program like this was so successful. And it has been for so many. And it has helped so many people stay in their homes. Coming out of the pandemic, we saw the highest rent increase in the area. It was stated earlier that this is going to cost us $180,000 in its first year. Okay? One of the things that we just got done doing is listening to the budget. Now, I know where to find some extra money at. And I think some of the mom and pop landlords may be happy about this because I think in this city we have to have equity, and I cannot just preach it for the renters. See, it's not equity when we have a rental unit cap that only benefits larger landlords and not everyone across this city. If we was to remove that cap, we would find not only that $180,000 that we would need to operate this program, but there would be a lot more excess money that's coming in as revenue to this city.
That is true. That is true.
It an undue burden solely on the smaller landlords here in this city of Wilmington. So policies like that we have seen have caused the imbalance in the system we should correct. But getting back to why we're here tonight, I've heard so many stories from people who've had their rent increased by 15%, 20%, 30%. This bill is not saying that landlords still won't be able to increase their rent. Without this bill, guess what? The majority of renters in the city of Wilmington is going to see a rent increase next year no matter what. It's going to happen no matter what.
Yep.
I've watched this happen for the last 5 years since we had the DHAP program. It has automatically gone up. And for people who are on month-to-month leases, it has gone up multiple times in the same year as well, too, without anything being done, any investments into the property, any renovations. This incentivizes landlords to put more money into their property so that they can apply for an exemption to go past the 3% rate increase. We want to make sure if we can't do things like pre-rental inspections, we want to make sure that we're incentivizing people to invest in these properties. And if a landlord does not want to make sure they have the best property that forward for their clients, then maybe they shouldn't be operating in this city. That is 57% renter dominated. We have to make sure that we're doing something for the renters. And for far too long, the question from the other side has been, wait, we'll work on it. Well, the time has come. It's time to finally do something. And again, in the city of Wilmington, we have 2 branches of government. Council, we must do our job, and then we will continue to work with the administration. I know in my soul that the administration will come to the table in good faith and work on behalf of the same residents that elected us, that elected the administration. We will all work together because I know the mayor's heart, and I know how deeply he cares for the city of Wilmington. And I know he has formed an administration that also cares for the city of Wilmington. So in closing, I have kept score of every call, every email that I've gotten in support or in opposition. And I will wrap up because I know I'm talking long. Y'all should have gave me the mic.
It took us a minute to get there, but taking full advantage of it.
I have received 29 calls, emails, text messages, Facebook messages in opposition of this. And I'm sure there's probably more coming in right now. But I have received 47 calls, text messages, emails, Facebook messages, social media, whatever, in support of it, 47 to 29. So tonight, I will be supporting this legislation, and I ask you to add me as a co-sponsor.
Any other council members in chambers? Is there anyone online?
Let's do public comment.
All right, at this time, we're going to start. Okay, Councilmember McCoy.
Yes, thank you. So I just wanted to state that I did see the changes to the ordinance, and I appreciate the efforts to address those types of concerns. So I think my primary concern was it seems like every change that we've been making basically only affects the law-abiding and responsible landlord. We asked them to increase the business license, and they had to go back and do that. Soon they will be having to deal with whatever comes up when it comes to the reassessment of the properties, and they're going to have to do that. And now we tell them that you are not allowed to recoup anything, whatever, once we figure out whether or not rent stabilization is 3%, and you got to come before us to make your plea on whether or not you're able to try to recoup that at any point. And so the thing is that I understand why we have to get this done, or why it's so needed, because the rent is, it is done. I haven't really paid that type of rent in a long time, so I'm like, yeah, that amount is astronomical.
Mortgage.
But yeah, I said, but the thing is that I don't know whether or not is it the law-abiding landlords or the ones who have no business license who are not letting L&I get in. I'm like, I don't know whether or not if we have a city of 50% renters, is everybody on the up and up? And is the reason why you're going through what you're going through is because your landlord is doing things illegally. And I think that's my concern, because I feel like that would probably, it would address more things. And honestly, the reason why I felt it was so important to bring the escrow back, to reintroduce it, is because when I realized rent stabilization was coming back, I wanted to make certain, because we have a lot of people who are paying rent. And if something goes down and their landlord does not want to address or invest in their properties, we will have a tool to make certain that happens. And that was the reason why I made certain that the escrow got reintroduced. So honestly, I understand where Alice is coming from. I am definitely nervous about this whole thing, because I only see it affecting a portion of people, and all those that you want to help, they have no resource.
Okay.
So I just want to make certain that y'all know that.
I'd like to make a couple comments. One of the things that you and I had discussed, Councilmember McCoy, is that the city has to do a better job, and this involves the revamping of L&I,
Yes.
on identifying all those landlords that are out there that are not registered, do not pay taxes, they're just operating. A lot of people who are desperate for a home end up getting a place with those folks, and they don't have the protections. They tolerate a lot of insufferable conditions, no electric sometimes, water leaking into their home, mold, and they don't complain, and they don't call L&I because they don't want to be pushed out. And at the end of the day, they really should be doing that, because first of all, these people are operating illegally in our city. They give all the landlords a bad name, and it's the good landlords that are always coming forth and paying and fixing and abiding by the law. It's not all of them. So there is an imbalance in that, and we had talked about that even if the city of Wilmington did better in enforcing and identifying those landlords and those businesses, that's another way to get the revenue in. Not about the revenue, it's about compliance and people living in safe housing, not just affordable, but safe and affordable housing. The other thing I want to correct what I said was actually your neighbor who shared this with me. It's not that the people got the ARPA money and didn't pay him. It's that when they had the ability to apply, they refused to apply to get the help, because they both had to apply. And it was something along those lines that they said they just didn't get paid. But when I'm wrong, I will admit that I'm wrong. So now at this point, we can go to public comment, unless the sponsor, did you have your hand up? Did you want to say something else? I thought I saw you raise your hand.
No, that's fine. We can go to public comment. I can just close out. After.
Chairwoman.
Oh,
Just say a brief
Trippy.
comment.
Help me. You seen me. Remember you asked me to help, and you never helped me. I just want remember me when I was homeless, and you said you had to acquire.
This is a point of order.
Council President?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm not going to be long. I do want to hear public comment on both sides, but I will be supporting this. I do ask to be a co-sponsor. It seems it's very funny. You know, we always on council, we always hear the excuse of we don't have enough staff to cover it. And it was already addressed, but when we knew that we were going to be less the paramedics, what we did was hire more paramedics. So when there's a need, the city knows how to fulfill that need. And if there's a need for our L&I department to have more staff, to be more efficient, I think that needs to be our focus. We can't just throw away the baby and the water, as the older people say. So I'm going to support it. I'm not going to be long. I just wanted to give a comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Owens?
Yes, I won't be long either, but I just want to also iterate that rearranging city departments is not unusual. It's not uncommon. When there was, quote unquote, more potential break-ins in the downtown and riverfront area, not only was the police force reconfigured, it was a whole platoon created for the downtown area that consists of 15 officers. Again, it can be done to address the need that is going on. So if we can do it for businesses, we should be able to do it for residents as well too. I would, again, I've heard from many landlords who are both in support of this, in opposition of this, who live in the first district, and I respect all their opinions. But I have heard from more people who are in support of this, who live in my district. So again, I just want to reiterate, I will be supporting this.
Thank you.
Public comment.
And Madam Chair, may I say one more thing?
Yes.
You did mention it earlier, but I know that people are extremely emotional on both sides. So again, I just ask that everyone be respectful. Please wait for your turn to speak. The chairwoman will give everyone an opportunity to speak. But please don't make this meeting a mockery of council and of public comment. Thank you so much.
Thank you, President Congo. I appreciate your support with that because we do want to be respectful of everybody's opinions, and there will be opinions on both sides. And, you know, we just want to respect what everyone has to say. Thank you. So we're going to start with Adam Bivens. And then if folks, I'll give you the next two names, Eric Spaniel, Spirl. And then we'll do an online and we'll go to Jeff Sheraton after that. So you can start lining up so we can move quickly. You will have 2 minutes. And I will give you a 30-second warning and a 10-second warning. Thank you, Mr.
Hello, everyone. I'm a small landlord, a Wilmington resident, and an engineer. I purchased my properties with my own money. It's part of my retirement and my kids' retirement, and this whole thing just seems like a real mess. I went and I did a lot of research because I'm an engineer, and I'd recommend everyone go and look up the Journal of Housing Economics. We've done this thousands of times in hundreds of municipalities, dozens of cities, and there's really two ways to lower rent. You either make more supply or you do rent control. One of them has really bad consequences, and the other one has none. So as you build more houses, rent goes down, and this has been evidenced in many, many places here in the U.S. in the last year. Nashville, Memphis, Chicago, Denver, Phoenix all had rent decreases because they kept up with supply by issuing permits quickly and updating their zoning so that you could actually build in this city. Now, we did not, and so now we have rent increases over and over and over again. And if you put in rent control, thousands and thousands of cities have done this. We got plenty of data. This is the result. You get tenants in the controlled units become a privileged class, and then in the uncontrolled units, which are usually your new builds, their rent goes up to subsidize the repairs in those other units. The rental construction in the city falls down, and usually even with exemptions, people see this as too high risk. The existing units suffer in terms of maintenance, and then when a major system fails, they go vacant since it can't even be repaired because the rent's too low to cover the repair cost. And then finally, you really incentivize developers to just tear down affordable housing as is, because why would you want rent-controlled affordable housing when you can either have luxury housing or you can go and have a project that is government subsidized? So you get two choices. You get either luxury housing that's even more expensive than what we got, or you can live in the projects. You know, come on.
Thank you, Mr. Bivens. You have what? Time is up. You did that right on point. Thank you. Mr. Eric? I didn't say your name right.
It's okay. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Eric Spruill. My wife Agnes and I bought our home in Quaker Hill 3 years ago. I am a retired New Yorker from Brooklyn, New York. Most of my working life was spent working for municipal and state agencies, and for at least 15 or 20 years of that time, working for nonprofit organizations advocating for tenants in landlord-tenant court. I have experience in this. I am a witness that rent stabilization works and has worked effectively in New York City for over 50 years. Somebody said, you went to Lancaster, come to New York, see how it works. Prior to moving to Wilmington, I spent most of my working life living in rent-stabilized apartments. In my opinion, rent stabilization is essential for working people. I'll give you an example. The last apartment I lived in for about 29, 30 years. When I first signed that lease for that apartment, my rent was a little over $1,000. Two-bedroom apartment, full bath, half bath. Okay? By the time I moved out and came here, my rent hadn't reached $1,400 yet.
30 seconds.
Okay, I have a lot of other stuff here, but I will close by saying this. Middle and working class housing built on underutilized land. Most of it is owned by various parking concerns, which is used for parking, which is mostly less than 1/3 filled on any given day, could be acquired through eminent domain, but preferably acquired through cooperation with the various parking concerns as developers. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Very on point.
Chair, I'm so sorry, can I make a request about comment? Are we able to do alternate, like do online?
I
in
am,
person?
after Mr.
Oh,
Sheraton.
sorry.
I have,
thank
that's
you.
exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to intertwine the online people. So after Jeff Sheraton, you can step up. We're going to do a couple online, and then we'll go next to Jennifer Jones and Brian O'Neill.
Hello, my name is Jeff Sheraton. I'm the president of the Greater Wilmington Housing Providers, an organization that represents about 200 small landlords and several thousand units in our city. Tonight we're going to hear many people say, and apparently where, the rent is too damn high, and as a landlord, I agree. They are 100% correct. For years, I and other housing providers have been attending city meetings, county meetings, state meetings, and even federal meetings, urging our elected officials to consider the impact of their policies on the cost of rent. Poor policy is expensive, and good tenants are footing the bill. Our policy has discouraged investment and increased the cost of providing housing in Wilmington. If you think it's hard to find a place now, wait. Wait till this council passes rent stabilization and see how hard it's going to be. Rent control will be catastrophic for our city, and we should learn from other cities who have already had this experience. I brought with me an article. It's from the Twin Cities, St. Paul and Minneapolis. St. Paul in 2022 passed a Rent Stabilization Act, and you're going to hear it sounds very familiar to what we're going to consider tonight. A 3% cap on increases, and you can go petition the city for hire to get a, quote, reasonable rate of return. The year after that was passed, this is what happened. An 80% decrease in new multifamily building permits in St. Paul. The neighboring city, Minneapolis, saw a 60% increase. They did not have rent stabilization. This is common sense.
30 seconds.
Rent stabilization will discourage investment. Bad policy discourages investment. I encourage all of you, reject rent stabilization. Work with housing providers to explore policies to encourage the much-needed investment in our city. I'm sure all of you in this room passed a vacant house on your way here tonight. It's vacant for a reason. Rent stabilization will not change that.
Thank you. We're going to go online to, as I said, we are going to respect everyone's opinions. We're not going to hear from the peanut gallery with screaming and hollering. That's not happening. Deborah Burgos, online. Deborah Burgos, can you join us? Okay. All right, well, I have two lists here, the online and the not. Okay, well, let me go to the next person, Brian O'Neill, but then Ms. Deborah, come down. So you're here in person, right? So just come up, so you'll be next.
Hi, Brian O'Neill from One Pie Investments. Really, I don't have a dog in the fight. I was a landlord in the city for, 30-some years. And back when the Blake Bill, if anybody can remember that, was getting passed, I made a statement that you're going to see, some landlords exit the city, and I was one of them. I had a portfolio at the time, right around 40 units, and I made a statement, and I was mocked at by the city. We're not going to see people move. And I'm associated with just even 5 or 10 people I know. There's about 1,000 units that have gotten taken off the rent roll. And a majority of those were sold to exactly what we said we would do, and I'm proud that I took my profit when I did, sold to out-of-state investors. And guess what those investors have done? They've come in, taken off what, I had reasonable rents at the time because I worked with all my tenants and I understood their plight of what was affordable, and I took into concern when there was problems. They just went in, jacked up rents 20 and 30%. It's not my problem, unfortunately, and I hate to say that. It's the honest truth. So what I'm doing right now is I'm sitting in the gallows, out waiting for the right time to return back to the city, because a lot of those properties are falling into disrepair. Now, I have other investors that are currently opting to sell their properties because of legislation like this. What are they doing? A number of the guys that can take a slower track are selling those properties to homeowners. They're fixing them up. Affordable housing for homeowners is good, but it takes it off the rental market permanently. So what are you left with? Selling houses to homeowners, and guess who's buying those houses? I'm seeing a majority of them out-of-state investors. This is exactly what we had said would happen, and I believe a similar thing will happen when this gentrification bill gets passed, if it does. And yes, this has, the end result can result in gentrification. There's plenty of studies in place. Jeff has already touched on it.
Time's
and
up.
I'm just going to leave with that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to go to M. Baker 0684 online. M. Baker online.
Hello, I'm here.
Thank you. You may proceed. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you. One thing I'd like to say is I'm like the previous speaker. I don't really have a dog in the game either. However, I work in the maintenance department. And I can see a lot of things coming down hard on a lot of the landlords. And I don't think it's fair because, you guys don't do anything to the actual tenant. Like, for instance, like costs are going up. They're not getting capped anytime soon. So I see things where like the tenant breaks things on purpose. There's unauthorized guests that nobody cracks down on. And there's a lot of different things that go on and that everybody knows that they go on. A lot of drug abuse. For instance, I had a situation last month where a lady fell asleep on drugs. She burned her kitchen up. She's on Section 8, 100% paid for by Wilmington. I'll tell you right now, I don't know how much the rent was, but I know it wasn't enough to cover how much we had to spend on that kitchen. And it's just things like that. There needs to be more accountability as the tenant. We're not supposed to be creating a class of people who are on Section 8 for the rest of their life. This was only supposed to be temporary. I don't see a temporary solution with this rent restraint. These owners have to bear the costs of these finances that keep going up every year. We have inflation that's going up. Every year, the property tax is going up. Something's going up every year. And there's no help for these landlords or owners. And all we're trying to do is just try to get a little piece of the American pie. You know what I mean? We just want to be able to get in there and work hard.
30 seconds.
And try to be able to get these things passed so it's more level. I mean, you guys are always going after the landlord and always going after the taxpayer. Well, let's go after the tenant. Let's hold them accountable. Let's do more drug testing. Let's put our money where we already have multiple agencies that do the same
10
thing.
seconds.
And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
It's an iPhone
Yes.
7, iPhone 7 Plus. But we're not going to have any calling out from the audience, please. iPhone 7 online. You can proceed if you're on. iPhone 7 Plus. Okay, ASR.
Oh, come on. Hello?
Hello? Okay. Can you please
Hello?
state your name for the record? Yes, you may proceed. You got 2 minutes. State your name for the record, and then we'll go back to a few people in person.
Carlos Moore. I do understand how people feel about the rent going up. I am one of them. I am unemployed. I am actually getting Social Security. I am retired. But I can't afford for my rent to go up. I only get $900 and something in rent. And yes, I do get some type of I'm on some type of Section 8. But if my rent goes up, and I'm trying to pay my gas and electric bill, so what I'm going to do, either I got to pay my gas and electric bill and let my lights go off. I'm a very good tenant. I keep up on the properties. I have inspections every year, and I have passed every last one of my inspections. I'm a very good tenant. I do not mess up anybody's property. I do not get high. I do not do drugs. I don't do any of that. I'm a very respectful person. I go to church every Sunday. I'm not out here raising hell with anybody. I mind my business. I have very good neighbors, and I love the area that I live in. So I do understand that they want to raise rent, but then you got to realize the people that are not making that much money. I'm not getting a lot in Social Security. I'm really not. And I do understand that they want to raise it. And if they do raise it, I just hope that I can pay what I need to pay.
Yes.
But I don't want to have to pay my rent and then got to worry about how I'm going to pay my gas and electric. Because my gas and electric is not that cheap. And it's just me. And I love where I live at. And I have a very good landlord. Because
10
if
seconds.
anything goes bad in here, they come right away and they fix it. They keep up on this property. And I love where I live at, and I don't want to leave it.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments.
You're welcome.
We're going to switch back to in-person. I have Peter Soltowski. Did I say that correct? Soltowski? Okay. Thank you. You have
Good
2
evening,
minutes.
everyone.
I'll
I'm
give you a
Peter
warning.
Zoltowski. Just have 2 things I wanted to talk about. One is the Affordable Housing Task Force recently came out with their report last month. This was, I think, an initiative of the new governor, and within that results, there were 9 recommendations, and all of them are focused on increasing the supply of affordable housing and just increasing the supply of housing in general, making it easier to get permits, possibly streamlining the building code so that there's not nuances from different cities. And I think in the long run, that focus on increasing housing supply is what is going to ultimately stabilize rents and make rent more affordable for everyone. And then as a landlord and an investor, there's several properties that I bought that were occupied, but they were really borderline uninhabitable, and the folks were living there in really terrible conditions. And I invested a significant amount of money in bringing the property not only up to code, but actually making it nice. And I can't do that if I can't also bring the rents up to market rent. And the process of having to request the land use and planning to approve, if the house was rented for $700 a month before, but the market rate is $1,000, I really would not want to take on that risk of having to, after the fact, after putting out a bunch of money, hoping that they will approve more than a $21 a month increase in the rent. And that would be a concern for me with other projects that I might want to do that would result in housing being substantially rehabbed. So,
Thank you. Jennifer Jones. Is Jennifer Jones standing in line? I had called earlier. Okay. All right. Next, we have Shanae Pezic. Or Shane. I'm sorry, Shane. I'm used to seeing that.
You used to Shanae.
It just
Dale.
doesn't have the accent on there. You could be Shade or you could be Shanae. What would you like to be today?
Whatever you want. Thank you. Hi, everyone. I am Shane Pezic, and I've been a realtor in Wilmington for 10 years now. I am not against this bill, but I would just like the council to look at one portion of it and possibly revise it. I sell about 40 rental properties a year for landlords that I think have been fair landlords for years. They charge under $1,000 for properties that could be over $1,500 if you look at certain rents. I think those are the people that are going to get hurt the worst in this situation, because when they go to sell that they've owned for years and they go to sell, buyers will pay far less for an under-rented property that they can't increase the rent on if it survives resale and survives move-ins and move-outs. And that's the only portion that I ask you guys to change. If you look at the mortgage rates, and if you use my example, $1,500 to $1,000, they're going to lose about $100,000 in equity per property with the buyers being willing to pay. And I just think that's not fair to the fair landlords. Thank you.
Thank you. Come forward and state your name. Just state your name so I can cross you off. Got all kinds of lists here. Trying to make sure we get people as they came in and signed in.
Thank you so much for allowing me to speak. I'm Deborah Burgos. I represent the Delaware Apartment Association. Our organization and its members have about 35,000 rental units in the state, many of which are in the city of Wilmington. I think it's very important that we state that those bad tenants, the ones that destroy apartments and are involved in illegal activity, they are the exception to the rule. 99% of our residents are great working families that need a home. The same can be said for landlords. There are bad actors. They are out there, but they are the exception to the rule. Most of us are trying to make a fair living. I agree, the rent is too damn high, but from a landlord perspective, so are our expenses. The expenses are going up at a rate that's hard to compensate for. Hazard insurance alone for most landlords, particularly affordable housing, went up 33% in 1 year. Even during the conversations here with the council persons, one of the comments that was made that we will increase the rental tax to offset the administration of this program, those increases go towards higher rent. The more expenses we have, the higher the rent is. So finding ways to reduce the expenses so that landlords aren't forced to raise rents help everybody. Rent stabilization does the opposite. Those that are in their houses right now may benefit, but in the long term, it will reduce supply and increase the costs for those that are not controlled. In Delaware, we have a unique situation where those in manufactured housing have a form of rent control. And since its implementation, we've lost 6,800 manufactured housing units since the implementation of rent stabilization in those units. I really don't want to see that for rental housing in Delaware. It will not make it better for the residents that need affordable housing. So with the current bill, I am urging you to vote no to this act. Thank you.
We're going to go to online.
Madam Chair, just a point of clarity. I didn't say raise the rental rate. I said get rid of the cap. It's two different things.
Okay, thank you. ASR, ASR, if you're still online.
Yes, we're here.
Thank you. You may proceed.
Yeah, thank you. I'm calling. My name is Umar Josephs. I'm a renter. I'm also I'm an employee of a property management company that manages properties in the city of Wilmington. We deal a lot with low income, Section 8, et cetera. What I'd like to say is, one, I'd like to also, Owen and Darby, thank you for your introduction of this bill. Your passion did not quite come through as you guys read a script straight from a phone, barely even engaging with us. I know I'm on Zoom, but it seems scripted. It doesn't seem very authentic, and that you guys are really, really built in on this bill. What I'd like to say is, one, there's been zero data that's been presented. There's been zero examples that's been presented on your side as to how this bill will help the city of Wilmington and help its citizens. The only data that's been presented data that's been presented by our landlords, showing that rent controls do not work. Rent controls are only going to force I have experience dealing with investors in the city of Wilmington. I've talked to them. They're just going to start investing outside the city. There's a reason that the government is not involved in housing. The government gives a lot of incentives for private landlords to invest in housing, i.e., you have your depreciation recapture. Why? Because the government is not set up to do it. They're not very efficient. So I don't understand why, at this point, we want to get the government back involved in housing. It's just a bad idea. It's not going to work. It feels like this legislation is more so of a feelings approach legislation as instead of something that has been actually researched and proven in other municipalities. I think the relationship between a
10
landlord and a
seconds.
tenant, the relationship between a landlord and a tenant is a private.
Sir, you're over your time. I'm sorry I didn't give you the warning, but you're over time.
Did I get 30-second warning? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I didn't. But you
Okay,
did
can I get
take an
30
extra 22. I'm going to give you 5 seconds to wrap it up, please.
If I can get 30 seconds.
I can't. I'm sorry. We went over. We have
Miss
to treat
Darby?
everybody the same.
But I didn't get the
Stop
warning.
him addressing me, because y'all never let everybody else get addressed, but when
Darby,
it's me,
you
so
guys-
please tell him to stop
Okay.
saying my name.
All right, sir. Thank you for commenting.
Tell him to stop. Cut him
Can I get a
off.
5-second
Sir,
warning?
okay.
May I get a 5-second
UITN.
warning? Or
No, I'm sorry. We got to cut you off. And I will just say for anybody who's online and here, do not address council members directly. Just speak in general terms. Thank you. Back to in chambers. Is it Brittany or Bittain Roy? Bittain Roy? And Michael Salvaggio. After that, we have Tony Dunn. You guys want to line up? Please state your name for the record.
Bittain Roy. I'm a local landlord in city of Wilmington. So I do mostly with affordable housing, Section 8 housing, and different programs like city, state, as well as county programs. So I urge all the council members to vote no to these legislations they proposed, because this is going to only going to increase the rent and discourage investment in the city from the all investor perspective. That's all.
Thank you. If anybody came in and did not get your name on the list, please do so. I do have to go in the order of the people that were here early and are waiting. So if you're not on the list, please let us know so we can add you. Okay, we can proceed and state your name. Thank you.
Tony Dunn. I live in the 2nd District of Wilmington, Delaware. I lived in Wilmington all my life. I'm now a senior citizen. And the things I'm hearing today, we all have to understand, especially landlords, you made the mess. That's right. And by you making the mess, you have to weep some of what we have to weep. Being homeless in our communities. You rent to us. Your rent is too high. I'm also a property manager for a owner. He even admits he shouldn't charge what the going rate is at $1,700 a month. We cannot afford it. You say that you want to do business in Wilmington, then you must learn to humble yourself and take less sometime, just like we do. They closed down a whole Afro-American community for new instruction. A whole community. Now we have to come and rent from you. So we ask you, if you don't want to lower your rent, then move out, sell. That's good for us if you sell. We're not here to play games with you coming in, buying all the property, and
30
then going up
seconds.
on us as renters. We can't buy homes because we can't afford them. So we're renters. Work with us so we can work with you.
Michael,
Madam Chair,
excuse me.
I just want to make a point of comment that this legislation today does not lower any rent. Just
Thank
so
you
that
for
I'm
that
being
clarity.
clear here, this doesn't lower any rent. Whatever the rent is today, it's going to be a rent tomorrow. We're just saying that it cannot increase more than 3%. So I just want to make clear that this ordinance does not decrease the rent.
Thank you for that point of clarity. We have Tasker Robbins and Michael Salvaggio. Are you in the chambers? No, I'm calling according to how the people signed up. I was given this. This is list number 1. Well, these folks came in as well. Not hearing from Tasker Robbins, we'll go to Helen Furman.
I don't remember seeing your face in here, not at all.
Folks, if you could cut across this way so you don't have to go all the way around.
Said something to Keandra first, so she should have mind her business.
Okay, folks.
Why would she say something to her?
Excuse me, can we please have order? The- Ms. Furman,
Just want to
please
let you
proceed.
know that this ugly old hag up here has been, for half of her life, a tenant. I have been a tenant. I've raised 3 children as a single mother. I've applied for food stamps at one point, and I've struggled. And I do understand that we have an emergency crisis. And the largest segment of homelessness today is the elderly. And I learned that from Delaware State Housing Authority people. Okay. I have also am a landlady, and my husband a landlord. And we also have a nonprofit and are devoted to beautifying our community. I live in the same community. My tenants are my neighbors. I care about them. But when I look at this introduction of this bill, and it says something like, whereas to demand rent that is above fair market value. Who determines that? Supply and demand. Just simple. If I want to go into business to sell dresses, I'm going to look at the price that I could get. Is it worth the investment? People jump into a market when they think they can make it. Last summer, demand for rents for short-term housing was very great.
20 seconds.
And in a market where the demand is great, you raise your price. This summer, this year, rents have actually fallen.
10 seconds.
And I've had vacancies. So what do? You lower the rent. So I'm against this bill. I think we need to start
Time's
talking.
up.
Please, just a minute, Maria, just a minute. I would like to meet with council to talk about ways to address an emergency situation that doesn't attack a segment of business.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Furman. We will reach out to you and set up that time to meet with you. Thank you.
Because that's white privilege right there.
We're going to go online now to Zanetta Washington. Zanetta Washington. Megan Wilson. Okay. Zanetta. You need to unmute your mic. Move on. Just raise your hand when you're back on. Megan Wilson. Megan Wilson, if you're online, you may proceed. Okay, we're not hearing from you, so we're going to proceed to back into the chambers. Jennifer Brevoort. Please state your name. Go ahead and do that, please. Thank you. You may proceed, and the timer starts now.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Jennifer Brevoort. I am Vice President of Greater Wilmington Housing Providers. Again, we are a group of landlords and investors. We are law-abiding landlords who treat our tenants fairly. Personally, all of my tenants are like family to me. I want to make sure that they're comfortable in their homes and that everything is fixed properly. We are not trying to up the rents on anybody. We are trying to stay afloat. Right now, the market reality is what it is. We've seen it in our day-to-day living, our groceries, our property taxes, our insurance, our electric bill, our water bills. we have seen everything be like increasing exponentially. And unfortunately, that's the same for us landlords. So I am a second generation landlord investor. And I am coming up thinking, what am I going to do in the city of Wilmington when we are kind of held to the standard of a rent stabilization when the market is going so much faster than 3%? You know, the cost of materials to do repairs are astronomical. And thinking about renovating a property to make sure it's up to standards and up to codes are expensive enough. And honestly, it's going to
25
cause
seconds.
a mass exodus of investors out of the city of Wilmington. And it's going to go into the county, and it's going to go into the rest of the state. And even our Delaware Housing Authority director, Matthew Heckles, spoke at our last meeting and said this is a market killer.
2 seconds.
And I think we should be listening to the people around us, the
Thank
people who provide affordable housing.
Thank you, Ms. Revort. Thank you. Deirdre Shepard. After Deirdre, we have Rosalind Gordy.
I am expecting the same privilege of time. I was expecting 3 minutes, so I had to cut some things out. While keeping in mind the decision you're making regarding this ordinance should reflect what is best for both the residents and the long-term health of the community. Always, always remember, there is no community without the residents. Stating rent stabilization will not work is an hypothesis. We do not have to hypothesize the long-term effects of unregulated rents, because right now there is an overwhelming population of families and their children cost burdened by high and rising rents. Right now, families and their children are being displaced and facing housing instability because of high and rising rents. Right now, communities are being disrupted because of predatory practices and unregulated rent increases. And these predatory practices in the city of Wilmington is antiquated. As antiquated as the city's water system that is currently underway of being replaced. We will have elected officials in the city of Wilmington that stand firm on their positions, pre and post-election. We will have elected officials who will not be puppeted by corporate landlords' contributions to their election campaigns to go against the policies that benefit
Point
the
of order,
very
let her
people
speak.
they have been elected to represent. While we will have elected officials who fully recognize that over 50% of the residents in Wilmington
seconds.
are renter households, and renter households deserve protections right now. Vote yes. It went well in Maryland. Montgomery County, Maryland, actually rent stabilization, one of the wealthiest counties in Maryland. And I live in the 6th district, and I actually do have other constituents who do support the rent stabilization ordinance. And I have a copy here for the 6th district county council person, as well as a copy for the committee here, if you need that too. Do I get that to you?
Yes, ma'am, and time is up. Thank you. I gave you the extra time.
Thank you.
Good evening, councilwomen and men.
Can you state your name, please?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Rosalind.
Rosalind.
I live in the city of Wilmington, 7th District. This is the Wild Wild West in the city of Wilmington. I'm a Philadelphia native, and I've been here for 25 years. And I moved in Wilmington about 10 years ago. And this is the worst I've ever seen in Wilmington. I'm on a block where there's much addicts. I see them, they live on my porch. We just had a neighbor, or rather investor, as y'all state, at the corner of my block. The rent now is $2,000 for a 3-bedroom apartment on Lancaster Avenue, where the addicts live. I am a disability person. I can't afford my rent. I want to move. I want to live in a spacious, comfortable place. I'm in a 4-room apartment where the landlord is not fixing anything. I live month to month on my rent. I pay month to month. I ask all of my constituents to help our council people pass this vote. It is immediate. This is a moral conviction here.
30 seconds.
I would like to see this bill pass, and in speaking to the developers, landlords, this is a moral conviction. This is not about you making profits. This is about now, immediately. I thank you. And I also have for you, Maria, Councilwoman, for other constituents.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to leave that for you. And Aviles, and then we're going to go online. Aviles, if you're here. Okay, and then Brandon Fletcher, we're going to do a 2 online and then go on to Mr. Fletcher.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Anna Aviles, and I live in the 8th District of the City of Wilmington. I want to thank you for your time today and for considering this ordinance. While many are focused on housing as profit, we need to adjust our frame here and make people the priority. Renters, including middle and low-income seniors, what United Way refers to as ALICE, which is asset limited, income constrained, and employed, they are losing their homes too. They cannot afford rents. Many of them are cost burdened by their rent, which means they're spending more than 30% paying rent. This includes low-income seniors, middle-income seniors, veterans, and families, including their children and their babies, are all suffering every day. Every day, hardworking people have to make difficult decisions between making sure their rent is paid or making sure their families are fed. Rent stabilization is not a silver bullet, but it is a necessary lever to slow down the already high costs of rent. Rent stabilization will contribute to keeping people stably housed. It is the only prevention measure that has been introduced, which is unique from any ordinance that is currently being heard. So it allows people to stay housed rather than waiting until they are evicted, receive an eviction, or end up homeless. So rather than focusing on the back end, we should be proactive as a community and help slow the pace of the continued rising cost of housing so that Wilmington citizens can be healthier, happier, and importantly, stably housed. I am not the only constituent in my district, similar to other folks that have come up here. I also have, I know that the councilman is not here today for the 8th district, but we also have others
He's
who
online.
have signed.
10 seconds.
Thank you. Signed in support of rent stabilization, and I hope that you all will support. Thank you.
Fabulous. Make sure that he gets that. Thank you. Online, we're going to go on to Andrea Williams. Andrea Williams. Next, we have someone from Network Connect. The following online person, Gwen E. If you're still with us, we have Andrea, Network Connect, or Gwen E.
This is Gwen E. I'm not sure if Andrea has said anything yet. So
No, she has not, but you may proceed. First come, first serve at this point.
Okay. My name is Gwen E. And I do want to give thanks to the council members that are bringing this up. This is definitely a now solution. We've been saying, how much time do we need? What exactly is working? Since we're so up in arms about what needs to be working and what plans that we need to develop. So what has been working exactly? In businesses, you have to incur wins and losses. That's part of the game. So far, I've seen all landlords that are not living in the areas that they rent to that come up. And everything's been talking about has been about profit. But she did state that there is an accountability and awareness and fairness in this. We can walk and chew gum at the same time. This can all happen at the same time. Everybody kept mentioning rent control. It is not rent control. It is stabilization. That's it. It is just bringing forth fairness. Let's have a clear balance. Is instead of just focusing on 201 in the section 34 about the financial sectors of it, let's have a balance between what needs to be enhanced, which is what he stated at the beginning, the accountability, flexibility, and ethical means of the people. As somebody that did what she was supposed to do, and a service member at that, I became homeless, was forced out. I did my part in DHAP, and that money went directly to the landlord, and she still managed to boot me out. So as far as I'm concerned, there's good landlords, there's bad landlords. But once again, there isn't a balance of speaking on behalf of the tenants.
30 seconds.
That's inevitable. We know that. We're all aware of that. So let's decrease the insulting of our intelligence. We are intelligent people, okay? It has and will always be, oh, well, we'll work on it. But by the time that y'all get to that, the landlords will have a bigger problem on their hands, and that is not having enough tenants because folks cannot afford it. I support
10 seconds.
the rent stabilization, and let's keep our families in their homes now. Thank you.
I go on. Thank you. Brandon Fletcher. After Brandon, we have Cheyenne Miller.
Good afternoon, Councilmember Cabrera and members of the Community Development and Urban Planning Committee. My name is Brandon Fletcher. I am an organizer with the Wilmington Tenants Union, and I'm here tonight to urge you to support substitute number 1 to Ordinance 2516, Wilmington's Rent Stabilization Ordinance. Rent stabilization is a common sense tool, community-driven solution to an urgent, unaffordable housing crisis that we are in Wilmington. Wilmington is a majority renter city. When rents jump $200 to $300 a month without warning, families are forced to skip groceries, postpone medicine, or leave their communities straight up. We see it every day, and those most impacted are our seniors. They are our working class families, Black and Latino families. Our homes are the foundation for the rest of our life. It's where we raise our kids, care for our elders, rest after long working shifts, but too often that foundation is being shaken by predatory rent hikes. Some landlords are exploiting a broken system and choosing profit over people. This ordinance gives us a tool to push back and protect our neighbors. Rent stabilization does not freeze rents. It does not stop development. It simply limits annual rent increases to 3%. So if my rent is $1,000, the most it'll go up is $30. And it gives landlords a clear path to request a higher increase if they need it. That's fair, that's balanced, and that's what our communities
30
deserve.
seconds.
We can't build a stronger city while people are being priced out of it. Rent stabilization helps Wilmington residents remain where they are, no matter your background or income, and to build a strong life where they're rooted in their communities. This is not just a low-income issue. This is a middle-income issue. This is a renter issue. This ordinance was carefully written after months of public input and legal review. It reflects best practice from successful programs across the country, and most importantly, it gives renters something that we've never had: stability. I urge this committee to move this ordinance forward without delay. The people of Wilmington deserve homes they can afford. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fletcher.
Yeah.
Proceed, please.
Oh, you have.
Can you take control of the meeting for just a
Yes.
minute?
Yeah. 150 signed postcards that I just handed over to Councilmember Alexander Hackett, many of which were signed by people in this room. I only had one package, so I was going to give one to Maria, but 150 for you too, Maria. So I'm here to ask for the council to support rent stabilization, because there are people in this room who will essentially be without housing if they don't. And I think what's important here is that we remember this. Yesterday, the Delaware State Housing Authority, ran by Matt Heckles, who was appointed by our governor, Matt Meyer, ended the Housing Stability Program, which is the DHAP program that was providing people with rental assistance. That program was ended abruptly. Many of the community navigators who were doing the program did not know it was going to end. They expected it to end on May 30th. And before that, they expected it to end on September 30th. That's some Doge behavior to me. Now, you're telling us that there's not enough time and there's not enough room to change this legislation. We're worried about what the legislation will do. And yet, somehow, Holmes Campaign, who has no lawyers at our side, managed to give feedback to the original bill on this legislation. I'm a little confused at what's going on with City Council right now. You have access to lawyers. You have access to aides. You have access to people who will do anything you need them to do for you. And yet somehow you have issues with the bill. Please do not
30
make
seconds.
the mistake of voting no on this legislation today. I'm telling you right now, don't make the mistake of doing it. It is not going to be a good thing. You can give feedback on the bill. You can give real feedback to Shanae so that she can make changes to the bill, but do not delay justice for our people. I'm urging you to don't do
10
what Matt
seconds.
wants us to do. Don't do what Matt Meyer wants us to do, or Governor Meyer wants us to do, or what Carney wants us to do. Do what's right by the people.
Yes, thank you, Cheyenne. Bear has a lot of papers up here. I don't know who's next. You said the next two online? Okay. So we'll go with you. Can you state your name, please?
Yes, thank you. My name is Michaelina de Jesus. It's okay if I can go
Yeah, we can start. We can start at 2 minutes.
Okay. All right, 2 minutes. Okay. We just asked you to stop it from rising. What do you think we're here for? Like, what do you think we're here for? Not for you to gentrify us. And as you talk about affordable housing, we will also be losing our homes, increasing the houseless population, which in turn you criminalize. So let's stop playing the games. I did an interesting Google search today, and if you want to, you can look up Robert Buccini. But a lot of people in here may represent this man and company, and a lot of backdoor handshakes and hush businesses that's stepping onto the generations of our community. I'm upset that she left because Maria received an email this morning from the Delaware Housing Authority encouraging people encouraging the council all to say yes to it. Her response was, oh, they should see it come from Delaware State Housing Authority. The reasoning of the email was, the system is broken, we need more housing, that's all I see. And then, interestingly, after that email or after that Google search, I found Robert Buccini on Hackett's campaign. I found Robert and Chris Buccini on Cabrera's campaign. Also, there was a lot of money from different investors. Let's see, Delaware Association of Realtors, DELPAC, Kent County Association of Realtors, Delaware Association of Realtors. Thank you. I mean, I can keep going. I'll run out of time, but these are all who invested in these people. So I'm wondering if that's just a conflict of interest and we're just going to sit here and play games with people who are bought and sold. At the end of the day, we're trying to keep our housing. Okay, we're asking you to stop it so we can keep it. That's it.
10 seconds. Well,
I can keep going.
Well,
but
no,
like
10
I said,
seconds.
the same
7
thing at
now.
DHAP was terminated yesterday abruptly, and those same people, Matthew Heckles,
That's
who
time,
runs
ma'am.
yeah, oh yeah. Excuse me.
Chairwoman, just want to make a point of clarity here. She stated several names that was on my campaign finance report. The only one that's on there is Rob Buccini. So just want to make clarity on there. You named, no. I know. You named 7 or 8 different organizations.
County Board of Realtors, yours is on there too. I just didn't get to read your list.
Okay.
No, they're not on
we're
my list. Just a point of clarity there.
Thank you, Councilman Hackett. It is what it is, Councilman Hackett. They're speaking during their public comment time, and that's it. Let's be respectful, folks. Excuse me, Councilman Hackett. It's their time. It's their public comment. I understand, but during a normal council meeting, we're not allowed to speak and confront we can't do it here either, okay? Thank you. I respect you, but they're here. When they have that microphone, they have a right to say what they have to say, whether we agree or disagree. It's their right. Okay, we're going to go back online to Julia. How about Sarah online? Sarah? Okay, so we're going to go to Jane Katchelson. Jane Katchelson. After that, we have Lillian, and then Brian Murphy. If you could all just line up so we can keep moving. Thank you. If you can please state your name for the record.
Nelson. So I want to acknowledge the large rental increase that took place all over the country in the years 2020 and 2021 due to COVID, which was unexpected and unprecedented and caused housing trends to change drastically. The market reacted and caused a real rent spike in the city, but I actually want to draw your attention to the market trends in Wilmington, specifically in the last year. In the city of Wilmington, in the last 365 days, the rent has dropped $175 as the market has stabilized. The rent has dropped $175 in the last year, all things being comparable. Rent is too damn high. Rent was too damn high. Correction. So this is an example of the market correcting itself organically. While this is clearly an important issue that affects people's homes, the way to support affordable housing is to sponsor programs that have been proven to work and not otherwise.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Then we have Lillian. Brian Murphy. Please state your name for the record. You have 2 minutes. I will give you a 30 and a 10-second warning.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Brian Murphy, and I live in the 5th District. I've lived in the city about 50 years. I've worked in some capacity for 5 of the last 7 mayors, including serving as Commerce Director for the city when we owned the Port of Wilmington. I'm here representing Grow Delaware, a group of large and small landlords in the city of Wilmington. Affordable housing is a supply problem. For too long, the federal government, the state, and local government have not addressed the issue on the scale it merits, which brings us where we are today. Developers and landlords cannot be expected to bear this burden alone. Any legislation that restricts or hinders development will have a long-term effect on development of the city. It will. Mayors and councils have worked hard over the last 50 years to create a welcoming environment for economic development and housing, and to see it all disappear with one vote on a piece of legislation, while well-intentioned, does not address the issue and will have long-term consequences. Let me just give you a few points to consider. After 6 months of intensive study, the State of Delaware Affordable Housing Task Force released its final report in April. The task force was made up of over 50 housing professionals from the private, public, nonprofit sectors. Of the over 75 recommendations made by the task force to increase the supply of affordable housing, not one was rent control or stabilization. It did recommend, however, that the state borrow $100 million annually to start to fix the problem. And that is up to Governor Meyer now. A 2023 study by the National Apartment Association revealed that over 70%
20 seconds.
of housing providers supported rent control policies, and it negatively impacted their investment and development plans. And finally, let me just
10
say,
seconds.
Montgomery County, Maryland, the rent stabilization law there was enacted in 2023. It became effective in 2024, and multifamily property transactions
Time's
have
up.
dropped by 13% in the first 3 quarters. Government, the banking community need to work together to solve this problem. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to go back to online. Is Jada Wilson online? Jada Wilson? Vince Jose? Vince Jose online? If you're on?
Yes, we're here.
Okay, please speak up. Thank you. You got 2 minutes,
Yeah.
please?
2 minutes. I'm a contractor in Wilmington. And what I want to say, I work with a lot of investors in the city of Wilmington. And what I see from them is no landlord, no owner wants a vacancy. They don't want a vacant unit. But what I can tell you as a contractor, we rehab properties, some beat up, like holes in walls, dog feces in the basement, in the kitchen, mind you. So what our landlords and what our owners want and what they need are good quality tenants. If we have good quality tenants, we're not going to push them out. They're not going to raise the rent in some absurd amount. What I'm proposing is we let the market dictate what the value of that rental property is, right? So what's next? If the government's gonna regulate, the rental rate, what's next? Are they gonna regulate, food? And are we gonna start rationing gasoline? At what point does it stop? You right. Do you guys agree? Like, when does it stop? And yes, you guys, we're talking about profits over people, and we understand that. We totally get it. But there's no landlord in the city that doesn't need to
30 seconds.
If the landlord's not making a profit, it doesn't need to be absorbent. But if the landlord's not making a profit, they're not going to invest in the property. They're going to go outside the city in 19806, 19804, right? They're not going to invest in the city. What we need is on both sides is how do we hold the tenants accountable
10
too?
seconds.
If a property is damaged, we do a lot of Section 8. So is the Section 8 program going to step like they do in Sussex and Kent County? Sussex and Kent County, they actually reimburse the owners for damages for a tenant.
Mr. Jose, your time is up.
They don't do that. Is that in the agenda? Is that in the bill? That's what we want to ask.
Thank you, Mr. Jose. Thank you for your comments. The next
Yep.
person online, Jay. Jay, if you're online.
He's still on there.
Okay. All right, let's go back to in person. We have David.
Hello.
Oh, Jay, sorry, you're
Jay
there.
here.
Can we
This
start
is
the
Jay
time, please?
Serve, yes.
You may start. You have 2 minutes. I'll give you a 30 and 10-second warning.
Thank you. This is Jay Serve, and I am an investor, property manager, landlord in the city of Wilmington. Before investing in the city, I was a registered nurse, and I know and I see these homes and home care facilities that I used to work for. And I understand where a lot of the people of Wilmington are coming from. However, let me speak the truth. The people that are speaking now, they have probably not seen good landlording, great management, great investors that are taking care of you. I think this bill needs to stop, and it's a hard no for me because we don't have a fair say with all the good tenants that I manage. A lot of the tenants that we manage, we do not increase the rents. We keep them in there. A lot of them are retired, fixed income, one working mother with kids. So if you want the government to control your rent, then vote yes. But you're voting for the wrong picture. You need to vote no and have a better place on how this is going to work. If you got a problem, submit your problem, just like L&I. Submit your problem. Let that go through.
30 seconds.
But if you want a stable rent increase 3% of every month, it's not a good look for you guys. I'm telling you, vote no, and let's look at this again. Let's get some good tenants in here that can speak up and talk about their great landlords. Thank you very much, City of Wilmington. Jay Serve is out.
Thank you. David Ranier. We're going back to him in person. David Ranier, and then Friedman. The last name is Friedman, maybe Edward Friedman. Thank you. You may proceed. Please state your name.
Thank you. My name is David Ranier, and I'm a partner at 9th Street Development Company. We began working in Wilmington 7 years ago with no equity of our own, relying on grants, tax credits, and personally guaranteed loans to complete our first market rate renovation, a 6-unit building. Since then, we've continued investing in Wilmington with the support of a growing network of backers who believe in the city's potential. We are deeply concerned that rent control would be profoundly damaging, not only to us, but the few local developers who have risked time, capital, and trust to help rebuild the city. It would make future projects financially unfeasible and send a clear message, a clear signal to investors that Wilmington is closed to innovation and private capital. Rent control, though well-meaning, has repeatedly been shown to reduce housing supply, lower quality, and create long-term harm. Capping rents below market value disrupts the balance of supply and demand, leading to disinvestment and housing shortages. A 2019 study by the National Bureau of Economic Research found that rent control in San Francisco reduced rental housing supply by 15% as landlords converted or exited units. We're already seeing similar impacts in Delaware. Matthew Heckles, director of Delaware State Housing Authority, recently noted that rent caps on manufactured home lots have contributed to a loss of 6,800 units since 2010, shrinking one of the state's most affordable housing sources. These restrictions, while protective in intent, discourage owners from maintaining or expanding communities. Wilmington's housing challenges are
20
especially
seconds.
acute. High renovation costs, aging buildings, and decades of neglect have made development extremely difficult. Public programs like Upstairs Fund, Downtown Development District, and State Historic Tax Credits were created to counteract disinvestment and incentivize growth. In many cases, developers must stack all these incentives just to make a project viable. Rent control would immediately unravel this fragile process. Thank you.
Time up. Thank you. Edward Friedman. Edward Friedman, if you're in the house. We're going to go to Shanique Jones online. Shanique Jones.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. You may proceed. You have 2 minutes. Thank you.
Yes. Hi, my name is Shanique, and I'm a resident of District 6. I'm a homeowner, thank God, because if I had brought a home in 2000 or later, it would have been disastrous for me. I'm here because a lot of people are talking about they don't have a leg in the race. Well, I do as a resident of Wilmington. And I speak on behalf of my mother, who couldn't afford her rent and now lives with me and had to give up her place of that she rented because she wasn't able to afford the rent. I speak on behalf of my sister, who works over 60 to 80 hours a week. And in that process, she still isn't able to make her ends meet, to the point of, because of the fact that every step of the way, her rent is being hiked up, and she's in the 4th district. I speak on behalf of my nieces and nephews who are coming out of high school, coming out of college, and cannot afford a place to stay. And so, at that point, they have to rely on folks who are already, doing as much as they can. So, my question to council is this: are you here to support the people of Wilmington, or are you here to support buildings? I also speak on behalf of all of the homeless people that I see in my district and all over the city. And I wonder how many of those folks, if they had the opportunity to have affordable housing, would it be a different situation?
20 seconds.
And so for that, I would just say to everyone, all the council members, vote yes, just because, like everyone said and put so wonderfully, it's about the people. and not a lot of the outside folks who come and do business here. And then they have a place to sleep at night.
Time is
So
up.
please vote yes.
Thank you. Marissa McClinton, and then Dora Williams, and then Rob Bullock. And we'll go back to online. Marissa, Dora Williams, Rob Bullock, if you could line up, please. You may proceed. Please state your name.
Good evening. My name is Marissa McClinton. I'm an environmental justice advocate. I just want to say thank you for the chance to speak today in support of rent stabilization, and thank you to Councilmember Darby and Wilmington City Council for giving this crucial matter your time and attention. Rent in Wilmington is way too high. It's on the back of my shirt. When I graduated college in 2022, me and several of my friends moved into the Wilmington and City of Wilmington area. Almost 3 years later, I'm the only one left. I have a friend who is facing eviction right now. She's 23 or 24 years old. 2 friends who moved into Maryland and Virginia. I'm the only one left because rents keep going up way too high. The rapid increase in cost of rental is outpacing the wages of Wilmington residents. It's draining our city of bright minds, old and young, and if this continues, all that will be left will be luxury apartments and condos. The rising cost of rent makes it hard for me and my peers to save money to eventually purchase our own homes, while landlords buy them by the dozens just to outcharge these finite resources. We are being held hostage by landlords who wish to make a profit out of something that should be a human right. This is unsustainable and unfair to the many residents who have lived in the city for generations, but now face the risk of being priced out. We heard today that rent stabilization might not work, but I know that unchecked rent increases will continue to drive residents out of the city. I believe the city of Wilmington can do hard things. You all are fantastic people who work very hard. I know the expertise is here in the city to work this out. I really want that to be a solution that we get. We've seen things mentioned today about the state's Affordable Housing Task Force. I attended some of those meetings because I have the privilege of working an online job and got to go there during the day. I had brought up in those meetings
30 seconds.
the concerns about housing costs and got the same trickle-down housing. Trickle-down economics does not work. Building more affordable housing with the definition is 30% of income, not like affordable to low and moderate income folks, does not work. We've seen this happen. We've been doing this increase the supply for years. Please pass rent stabilization. I want to stay in the city. I want to stay with my friends and not be priced out and have to move to Bear or something like that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Ms. Dora. Ms. Dora, you can come up to the mic, please. State your name for the record. You have 2 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Dora Williams, and first of all, I want to say thank you very much. I don't know who my life would be without thank yous. And I want to say I am a part of environmental justice. I'm an environmental justice advocate, as my hat depicts. And I do want to say one thing, and that is we must not depend on the eloquence of bureaucracy, and we must not depend on the excellence of academics. But we must depend on the conscience of man. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Dora. Next, we have Rob Bullock, and then we'll go online.
Rob Bullock, environmental justice, president of the 913 Route 9 corridor. I used to be a landlord. Come on, man. I made plenty of money. Y'all come here crying and talking about y'all ain't making no money because somebody done raised rent or somebody knocked a hole in the wall. You fix the hole, but that's not every day. One apartment had a hole in the wall, but you fix it, but I made plenty of money. So y'all coming in here crying about y'all got to do this, that, and the other online statements and so forth. Y'all making plenty of money. Point is that we have instability, housing instability, insecurities, cost burdens, and as a result of the tariffs and the increase, the Delmarva increase, the Wilmington water increase, the rent increase, it has, we being overburdened, it's too much. You're just like Trump said, you landlords are not going to get $30. You're going to get $2 this year. $2. Just like Kobe, he said he had receipts. Kobe got good receipts. you know. And I want to tell you that the whole thing really is the cruelty is the point. Y'all cruel to poor people. It should, this is, you know what I mean, this really pisses me off because y'all don't care about us. Nobody on this on the council seems to really care.
30 seconds.
You know, and as a result, I don't know what deals that y'all making behind the scenes or being made, but it's about time you include us. We want in. If not, you risk being out.
10 seconds.
As receipts, we will keep receipts. No rent stabilization, no peace.
Renee Sproul. Renee, if you're here, go back to the online lists. We have Newcastle County Board of Realtors. I'm sorry, are you Renee? Oh, yes, Renee, you'll be first, and then online, please be ready. Newcastle County Board of Realtors or Michael Savalgio. Thank you. You may proceed. State your name.
Thank you. Hi, my name's Renee Sproul. I am a local landlord. I am also a licensed real estate agent. I'm also a licensed real estate agent. And a lot of what I'm going to say have been said already by a lot of landlords. I mean, at the end of the day, this bill will negatively impact your good landlords, not the actors that you guys are really after. I know firsthand that this will immediately reduce some of the housing stock that's available to renters because I already have some of my investor landlords who have called me and have asked me. They say, Renee, because of all this legislation that's coming through that's anti-landlord, and unfortunately, once again, it's the good landlords, if I terminate, can I terminate my tenant leases that are currently in my places, renovate and sell them? Sell them to owner occupants. They're not going to sell them to other investors because they're not going to get a high enough return from other investors. They're going to sell them to owner occupants. And while that sounds great, that will get more owner occupants in the city, that's bad for renters. I hear in the audience, I hear people say, well, we don't need the landlords, let them move out. But if they sell their properties and move out, it's only going to be owner occupants that move in. Once again, a good thing. But the renters, where will they go? You have low and moderate income renters in these small landlord units who don't raise their rent substantially. They only raise rents because we're facing increases from all aspects, from insurance, from taxes, from repairs. Even in my own units, I've had to renovate a place and it cost me double this year than what it cost me 3 years ago to renovate after a tenant moved out. We have no choice but to raise rents. But if we're
30
capped
seconds.
at raising rents, we can't raise rents when we renovate our places, or we have to go to the administration to ask for permission to raise our rents. Nobody wants to deal with that hassle. If I'm being totally honest, they're just going to sell. They're going to ask the tenants that are currently in their units to move, and now we'll have an even bigger problem. You'll have more immediate homelessness. Thank you.
Thank you. We have Michael Salvaggio next, and if we have Jerome here in person. Michael Salvaggio, if you're online, Salvaggio. We'll go in person to Jerome Heischert. Cecilia Hibbs in person. Naomi Katz in person. Your name. After Naomi, we have Mai Pana.
City Council members, thank you for your time. I'm Naomi Katz. I'm in the 8th District of Wilmington, Delaware. I first want to say that I have watched new construction happen over the past 10 years. Plenty of people have spoke about the beauty of new construction, but let's be real, none of the new construction that has happened in the last 10 years is affordable. A third of Wilmington residents are renters. And I'm a data person, so I'm going to throw some statistics out there. In 2021, personal income in Wilmington, Delaware went up 1.5%, and earned income went down. People were earning less by 0.4% in that same amount of time. Rent increased by 24%. The following year, personal income went down again by 0.5%, and rent increased again by another 14%. I'm college educated. My boyfriend that lives with me is also college educated. And we lived in a home for 6 months where the ceiling was caving in because we could not find another rental unit that we could afford. I also just want to speak to working at the Challenge program in Wilmington. I worked with a lot of young adults in the city who could not find affordable housing. We were helping them get jobs in warehouses and in construction. And even if they could find housing, they were not able to keep it because the rents were changing too quickly for their new income. We can nickel and dime this all day, but we cannot continue to seek perfection at the expense of good enough. Let us take a small but worthy step in the right direction while we continue to work on other options for expanding affordable housing options. For these reasons, I'm in support of rent stabilization, and I strongly urge the committee to do the same.
Thank you. Maya Pana or please state your name. You have 2 minutes. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is May Pana, and I work with Habitat for Humanity of Newcastle County. I'm coming from a different perspective. I live in Claymont, but I am working with Habitat. As I said, we have a home ownership program, and what we are finding is that a lot of the applicants that are coming to apply for home ownership can't afford the mortgages that we have because they're paying up to 50% in rent. So they can't even afford mortgages to become homeowners, and that's a problem. So it starts with rent stabilization, I feel, because without even being able to afford rent, how can you afford to become a homeowner? And as far as a community, what is home ownership? Home ownership is independence. Home ownership is stability. Home ownership is community engagement and community safeness. And like landlords, too, who are wanting to do the American dream, renters as well wants to strive for the American dream of home ownership. But it starts with stabilized rent, and I'm just here for that. So thank you, and I am for rent stabilization.
Thank you. We're going to go online to Scott Foster. Scott Foster, if you're online, you may get on. Scott Foster online, and Candice Santoro, if you're online, you would be next.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can, Scott. Please proceed. You have 2 minutes.
All right. It's Scott Foster. I've been in the city of Wilmington since 1983, so that's a long time, over 40 years. A lot of folks have said some really good stuff on both sides. I was homeless once. My partner was homeless once. 10 years old. We were evicted out of one place. So I get it. Totally understand that. Through lots of hard work, was able to purchase a property, lived in a tent on Orange and Winchester while renovating it. And over the years have been able to do quite a few properties. In fact, we renovated and rented 50 properties within a 5-year period. That's 10 a year. So we increased the housing stock. One of the things I haven't seen mentioned is when we talk about so-called fair market rents, HUD has a fair market rent website where you can go to. And instead of using a 3% cap, which I think is way too low, because it doesn't allow for folks like, let's say, for instance, I have a lady right now, she's paying $1,100 a month rent for something I could charge $1,600 for, okay? So good landlords, bad landlords. If I re-rent that property, let's say she moves out for whatever reason, 3% really doesn't do anything for me, so I'm gonna end up, like someone just said, I'm gonna end up renovating it and selling it. You're going to see a lot of housing stock disappear. I'm sitting on 5 lots. I'm basically going to just sell them and move elsewhere to Newcastle County, because if rent stabilization goes in, it's not worth my time. Thanks.
Thank you. In person, James Fernie Howe. James Fernie Howe, and then we'll do Adam Whitney. While James is working his way to the front, do we have Francisca Moreno online? Francisca Moreno online.
Hello, my name is Francisca. I live in the District 8 of Wilmington and have been a renter in Wilmington for 4 years now. I am speaking on my own behalf and not on the behalf of my workplace. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I have a stake in this bill, unlike previous members of the public have stated. I am a survivor of domestic violence, and I fled to Delaware to escape my abuser in 2018. I fear being homeless again every single day. I am 25 years old. I am a fabulous tenant, not that it matters because housing is a human right, but I have yet to meet a quote unquote good landlord. A lack of rent regulation creates uncertainty and anxiety and contributes to housing instability for too many Wilmington renters. I shouldn't be scared to lose my apartment one day because my landlord decides to hike up my rent next year. I am beyond exhausted. I no longer want to exist in survival mode. Protect survivors of domestic violence. Protect renters. Vote yes on rent stabilization. I have experienced power and control at the hand of my abuser and at the hands of people taking advantage of my victimization to make a buck. Protect renters now. Protect survivors now. And it's not rent control, it's rent stabilization. Remember that. And remember that we vote you in, and yes, we can find the right person to actually represent Wilmington renters. Thank you for your time.
Mr. Fernie, you can proceed. State your name for the record. You have 2 minutes. I'll give you a 30-second and 10-second warning.
So my name is James Fernie Howe, and I'm here to say a few things in support of rent stabilization. So constructing of new housing is important, but it's insufficient to address the problem. New housing often ends up being unaffordable to low-income people. The market's already shown that it's not sufficient to address this problem, especially with how difficult it is to find a new rental unit and move an entire family, and with when ownership of rental units concentrates into a few hands. If the market is supposedly going to fix the situation, then why has it not already? Rent stabilization isn't unfair to landlords as it doesn't prevent rent increases, it's not rent control, it only limits them. The legislation has numerous exceptions previously outlined that makes it fair to landlords, and the legislation allows for exemptions for repairs and such, which will prevent housing from decaying due to stabilization. Let me ask you this. If landlords are simply going to respond to this legislation by leaving the state and investing elsewhere, then why are they so invested in stopping this legislation? On the point of this legislation supposedly hurting tenants, I fail to see how preventing landlords from subjecting tenants to unreasonable rent hikes is going to do anything but help tenants. Many tonight, including those here in opposition, have already agreed the rent is too high. If that is true, then why should it be allowed to continue to increase at meteoric rates? So please vote yes on rent stabilization.
Thank you. Whitney and Jason Fernandez, and after that, James Dalkey. Your name?
I'm Whitney.
Adam. Okay.
So I just want to talk to my fellow community members because I feel like the council members kind of make up their mind when they get their lobby money. So these landlords keep threatening they're gonna leave, and I just want to go over this scenario. That's not gonna happen, but if they all left, that would leave houses that we can actually buy. And instead, I've had to work and give all my money to these landlords for my whole life, where I'm never going to be able to probably buy a home, but you know, these people are scared that their quality of life will go down a little bit if they're prevented from hiking up the rent. You know, these are threats, not to us, the community members, but to the people they're paying. Yeah, and you know, I heard Carney talking about how he doesn't like rent stabilization, and he just wants to let the rent keep going up because it helps the economy or something. And you know what happens when they squeeze out everything they can and we become homeless? He sends police to go and find the homeless people and sweep them. That's what he wants to do. So we need to start with rent stabilization. If these landlords are so good, then they weren't going to hike up the rent anyway, so it's not going to hurt them.
Yep.
And we need to move past that as well. That alone is not enough, but this is a start. Thank you.
Thank you. This and then James Dalkey.
Hey, I'm Jason Fernandez. I'm a housing provider, a landlord, property manager. I rent to low income. I have people who are on housing vouchers. We partner with victims of domestic violence. We partner with organizations that work for homeless veterans, and we have housed them. I'm not opposed to rent stabilization per se. The way it is outlined in this bill, I'd urge council to oppose it. Given that the administration themselves are saying that they're going to have trouble with the exemption process, and also some council members themselves say that they'd like to have more say and work together, I'd like to encourage them to work with providers, work with landlords, come up with creative solutions. We do construction in Wilmington City and non-new construction. We go to vacant homes and make a livable home for families. Right now, I'm working on a vacant home where I've applied for a permit in November, December of last year. I still do not have a permit. I'm going through the process that city has laid out, and you're not making it easy for providers to make a vacant home livable again.
30
that's all I have
seconds.
to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Please state your name, and I'll give you a 30-second warning. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is James Dalkey. I'm a resident of the 7th Ward. So, first off, guys, housing's a human right. It's on our shirt, right? If we can't agree on that, I don't really know how we're going to have a constructive conversation on how to fix this housing crisis, right? So I think we've heard from a lot of people tonight, and I think we all agree that there's not enough supply, there's not enough housing, right? So, and we've heard about how we need to let the market dictate and build more housing. Well, that's what we've been doing currently, is it not? So how has that turned out? That's right. So here's some statistics. I heard someone earlier ask, there's no numbers for the people that want rent stabilization. So, over 50% of Wilmington households are renters. 43% of renters in Newcastle County are rent burdened. That means they pay 30% of their income or more on their rent. 22% of renters are paying 50% or more on their rent. We have built probably around 2,500 to 3,000 new units in the city over the last administration. And we have statistics that show that we're missing about 5,300 affordable homes still. So obviously none of those homes built were affordable, right? So yes, we need to talk about the supply. We need to talk about how we're going to get that done. But we need to help the people that are in their homes right now, because obviously if you want to jack the rent up to the point where people are moving out, that means that the goal here is to get the current tenants out so that we can move wealthier people
30 seconds.
in. Someone this evening said that this is a gentrification bill, that if we pass this, it means that people are going to, divest from the city, and somehow that means there will be less affordable housing.
10 seconds.
But, I ask that if it's truly not profitable and all landlords say, I don't want to be a landlord anymore, I don't rent, I think it's basic supply and demand that there's going to be more houses on the market. And then the prices are going to come down and more people are going to be able to be homeowners. So let's work on that as a city. Let's be bold. and let's get this passed in Wilmington first. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dalkey. Megan Williams, you weren't able to get on earlier. Megan Williams, if you're online, giving you a moment to get on. Megan, please proceed.
Hello.
Hi, Megan.
Hi.
You may proceed.
My name is Megan Wilson, and I was there in person last time, and I did not feel heard actually when I got done because I hadn't gotten any response from any of the council members, that said they were going to do something. But the rent stabilization thing we need. It's ridiculous. I am on $1,800 a month, and rent. If I wasn't in this housing program that I'm in right now, that is going to end. I only have a year here, so what I'm saying is, I'm going to have to pay $1,700 of that to have a 2-bedroom apartment for me and my son. I'm a disabled. I don't have the option of freaking getting up and going to work. I'm not allowed. My doctors will not let me. They won't sign off. So I'm supposed to go pick a tent, pitch it in the woods, and say, okay, so DFS can come take my child, right? Is that what you guys want? Because I see Delaware loves taking kids away. They love it. But I see that the city council really doesn't want to hear us tenants either, because their pockets aren't lining fast enough. But we voted you in, and we will vote you back out if you don't do something to protect us, and protect us now. Thank you.
Thank you. Chantel Newman, and then Emily Van Vlack. Chantel Newman and Emily Van Vlack. Yeah, yes, cut through.
Sure. I won't trip. Thank you.
State your name.
Yes, ma'am. Chantel Newman, and I am in support of rent stabilization. I am currently homebound because a lot of politicians and police officers are realtors as well. And my Section 8 worker, Dana Long, called my phone to vote for his wife, and I said no. And they brought the guns and a hostage, and it was a standoff, and I was locked away for 6 years. And when she went up to rerun, I had to speak. And I am afraid of being homeless because when I came home, the programs that were in place for reentry, they weren't able to really stabilize me because COVID had hit. And when COVID had hit, it was a high turnaround. And the high turnaround made room for corporate America, which is really Great Britain, that comes back every 7 years and knows that there's tunnels and things underneath our homes in Wilmington, Delaware. So they have came and they have hiked the prices up, hoping that we'll be homeless and then lock us up and take our children. And my son's in foster care. I've went through it. I'm going through it right now. I'm a victim right now. And when I DoorDash, they crashed me so that I can be silent about it. And I just made it over the weekend, that big crash by the Royal Farms. So I am in support of rent stabilization, and I'm ready to be evicted over $2,700 because I had DHAP and my landlord needed to pay her bills. And I waited 2 years and had to get a FOIA and found out that my landlord did receive the money, and they said they never received it. So my landlord got her rent paid, and I became almost homeless.
30 seconds.
So I am in support of the rent stabilization because it will give us a chance to at least get some type of clarity, get us stable so that we can move forward and be homeowners, so that we don't have to be victims of these high predatory prices because Great Britain wants our land and they will not get it. I am who I am.
Emily Van Vlack. After Emily, we have Cheyenne McGowan.
Hello, I am Emily Van Vlack. I bring it down to my level. I'm in District 8, and I'm in firm support of rent stabilization. I know what it's like to be homeless. There was twice in my life I was homeless. The first time was coming out from my divorce. and I slept on friends' couches. Luckily, I wasn't on the street, thank God. And then the second time I was homeless, that I had a victim, a crime against me in Newark, and I left my home very suddenly, had to put everything into storage for 6 months. So I didn't have any of my possessions, slept on more friends' couches. Thank God for my church and my friends. And when you're homeless, you don't think about anything else. That's all you think about, because you're at the bottom of Maslow's hierarchy and you are desperate to have that basic need. It's like going without food and water. And if you can't afford a place to live, for example, like one of my folks in my church said, well, we'll just drive around and check out and see where you want to live. I said, you don't understand. I'm on Social Security. I'm disabled. I can't afford to live anywhere I want. And thank God I ended up in Wilmington, and I love it here. But I just see that the younger generation is coming up. They can't afford the rents. I was a supervisor at University of Delaware, and some of the people who are graduate students are homeless. And I know, like, my home health aide is teetering on the edge of homelessness. And I thought, well, I'm going to find her a place in Wilmington that's really nice. Nothing was in her price range, and she's a graduate student who can't afford the rent. I'm seeing this all over the place, particularly with younger people.
20
it's
seconds.
just heartbreaking. They can't afford to be homeowners either. So I really am in support of this in terms of putting a, rent stabilization to help people afford to live and to survive and make Wilmington more attractive for people to move here because they can afford to live here. Thank you.
Thank you. Online, we have Network Connect. Online, Network Connect. Oh, okay, come on up, please. We'll go online to Brenda Cepeda Josephs.
Hi, my name is Cheyenne McGowan. I'm a resident of the 5th District. Today, the room was more full than it was when the legislation was introduced. And I think I think it would be safe to assume that this legislation matters to all kinds of residents in Wilmington. I think it also might be important to remember who has been in the room and who's in the room today. I want to emphasize something that was said earlier in the debate, that this is an issue of injustice. Someone literally said, you want luxury or projects? It's clear that this is not about people to some of these commenters. It's about profit, land, and wealth. They try to paint a picture of a dysfunctional tenant, someone who doesn't care about where they live. They talk a lot about data when it's really about dialogue. Who are you talking to? And another thing is, how many of you actually live in Wilmington? So I hear regularly the pain, worry, and helplessness people feel when they face eviction, when they are forced to live in horrible conditions, all while paying extreme prices for mediocre landlords and slumlords. The state just ended the housing stability program, where people all over the state, not just in Wilmington, were able to use it as a lifeline, a resource, and a tool to stay housed. As of today, there is no lifeline. There is nothing to keep people in their homes. And the estimated number just in the city of Wilmington alone for evictions is 3,641. Close to 500 people just in the city of Wilmington have nowhere to go at night. This is a right now issue. This is a right now problem. It is a conversation that goes beyond the speculative profits. There is no time to wait and debate. And if it will benefit the city, what's important is that it will make people stay. It speaks to people who need help now.
20 seconds.
Rent stabilization provides relief that ensures a fair rate of return for their properties. It is equity and affordability. If you truly care about affordability, you should care and invest in rent stabilization for the city of Wilmington. One last thing, to address the issue of landlords leaving, where there is stock, they will flock. Weed them out. Thank you.
Brenda Cepeda Josephs is online. Please get ready. Are you Miss Cheyenne? If you can state your name, please.
Thank you. My name's Sierra Hipkins, and good evening, council members. Like many of you, I have a duty to the people that I serve and the organization that I lead, and that's why I'm here tonight. I represent an organization that works tirelessly with the City of Wilmington residents and residents across the state. And I'm here today as a resident, a former resident, and a native of Wilmington, an advocate for housing justice in Wilmington. I'm urging you to support the adoption of a Rent Stabilization Act that protects our community from displacement and rising rent burdens. We've seen too many families, particularly too many children, go from housed to unhoused and still expected to go to school and operate every day. Cities across the country, someone's talked about there is no data around it, but cities across the country have already taken action and it's proven to work. New York City's rent stabilization has been in place for decades, limiting annual rent increases for over 1 million apartments. This program has kept generations of families stably housed and has helped maintain social economic diversity in one of the most expensive cities in the world. Landlords there performed what may be some sort of political claim by keeping apartments empty, and so you hear a lot of misinformation around that program not working, but what they are trying to do is have the city change its laws. San Francisco is another, also has rent control policies that limits annual rent
30
hikes
seconds.
to percentage tied to inflation, typically around 2%. It exempts newer buildings and small landlords, striking a balance between tenants and protections. I could go on about Oregon and so forth, but with the time that I have, I won't. I'll end with this. We can do the same thing here in Wilmington. Over 40% of our renters in the city are cost burden. Families are forced to choose between rent and groceries. Seniors are being priced out to communities they helped build. Without intervention, this crisis will only worsen, especially with cuts happening federally. This council has a chance to lead. Let's pass Rent Stabilization Act tailored to our city, fair, balanced, and focused on protecting Wilmington's most vulnerable populations, because housing is not just a market issue, it is a human right.
Thank you. Online, we can have you speak now. Afterwards, we need Cheyenne McGowan and Justin M. Adekambi Kojer.
Hi, good evening. My name is Brenda Cepeda. I'm going to start by saying that I agree that the rent is too damn high, but the cost of eggs is too damn high, interest rates are too damn high, taxes are too damn high. This is not a problem that's unique to Wilmington, and this is not an issue that was created by landlords. I grew up in a rent-stabilized apartment in New York City, and eventually my family still had to relocate because everything else was just too expensive. There's other factors that make life expensive that's beyond the control of rent stabilization. So in New York City, home ownership wasn't viable. So we relocated to Wilmington, where it was affordable to buy a home. Pre-COVID, you could have bought a home here, like you could have bought a decent town home in Wilmington for like $120,000. Had you done that back then, you know, you could have had a mortgage right now, fixed mortgage, $800,000 a month. So what I'm encouraging the council to do is, rather than focus on landlords, is to create more programs and things that encourage home ownership, so that empower people to be able to actually purchase a home before Wilmington also becomes a place where it's no longer viable to buy a home like New York City. It encourages pride of ownership, and instead of creating these programs that are going to create more overhead for the city, having to manage landlord-tenant relationships and all these other issues, I think we should focus on trying to make more people homeowners. That's all.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Next, we'll bring up Kenjan Jr. Kenjan Jr. Afterwards, we have Daisy Rivers and Frank Brevort.
Man, my name Kenwan Jr. My stance is always the same on record and off the record. The United States government is an enemy to black people and all marginalized groups. Right now, City Council, you are in a unique position. See, it's easy to police me, easy to lock me up, but I can't get housing, I can't get health care, I can't get education, I can't even get clean air. I'm out here struggling, but you are in a unique position to address a historical, systematic issue, and I urge you to keep that in mind. Also, black people, other marginalized groups, I urge us to come together, pull together our resources, and buy our own property. We cannot rely on this government that's proven unwilling and incapable of solving our problems. We must rely on each other. Also, I'm 100% against black people attacking other black people in public. I believe, I encourage the city council members, the black members, and the black members of the black community that we sit down and talk, address what needs to be addressed, where we agree, disagree, where we are in the middle, politically and personally, so that way we can have accountability all around the board. Whether you're a politician, organizer, activist, working a 9 to 5, we can have accountability. But when we study history, we see what happens. Divide and conquer, attack one another, argument ad hominem. We can have accountability, but we gotta do so in a proper manner. Again, I'm always the same on record and off record. So I thank y'all. I'm for black people first, always and foremost, and all marginalized people. All power to y'all, all power to the people.
I had called Justin M. Adekambi Koje. Are you still here? Okay, come forward. Thank you.
All right, good evening. As you said, I'm Dr. Justin Adekambi Koger. I'm a native Delawarean and a Wilmington taxpayer. Oh, my bad. Yeah. My comment is based on the problems with unchecked self-interest, corruption, the worship of wealth accumulation, and our obligation to other human beings within our communities. As a PhD-trained economist from the University of Delaware, I have read and demonstrated in my research that cooperation between individuals has in the past and continues to ensure our survival as a species. Since the era of the Nixon and Reagan administrations, when our nation adopted these short-sighted, pro-developer, free market policies, wealth and income inequality have ballooned at the expense of workers and at the benefit of a wealthy few, who we've heard tonight. If within our small Wilmington community, we allow purely self-interested behavior to guide our economic policy and decision-making, we will continue to fail large segments of our population. When it comes to our homes and our families, this type of behavior goes beyond a constitutional crisis. It's a people one. As I make this comment, people across the country are choosing to put people over profits to such an extent that we are on the verge, choosing to put profits over people to such an extent that we're on the verge of a societal collapse. Here too, research shows that the more wealth and income inequality there is, the weaker our ability to maintain democracy. We can use this moment to put more money in the hands of the people who most need it. I firmly believe that we should take it, if only
30 seconds.
To safeguard our shared democracy. So to finish my comment, I want to discuss our obligation to others, and I want to ask those opposing this rent ordinance how you want to be remembered when you inevitably pass away and cannot take your wealth with you. As an economist and member of this community, I believe other human beings are not merely means to your ends, nor is their labor fruit for you to eat. Our community is built with us all together, and we all deserve to have our basic needs met to live safely and comfortably within it.
Time's up.
Yeah, that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Daisy Rivers. We have Daisy Rivers, and afterwards Frank Brevoort.
Hello, my name is Daisy. I just wanted to kind of remind landlords that it is the renters that pay for you to have what you have. Without our money, you would be out. And if we can't afford that, if we can't afford what you're asking us to pay, then there's the issue. I have dealt with a slumlord. I had holes in my ceiling. I had mold growing in my ceiling. I had city officers coming and inspecting, and they left us there in mold with mushrooms growing in our ceiling. There's no accountability, and now he is suing us because we decided that those conditions that we were living in is not acceptable, and we got penalized for that. No one's protecting renters. This is bare minimum. This is bare minimum. We're not asking for much. We're not asking for much. We're asking for a cap. We're asking for accountability. We're asking for protection. And you're coming on here saying that, oh, we're bad tenants are the issue. No, it is the price gouging that's the issue. It doesn't matter how a person acts. They deserve to have safe and affordable housing. They deserve to have a paper that says the amount that is due each month be the amount that is due each month. That's what we sign. It's a contract. And it's interesting that I'm here with people that I know are being bought by these same people that are here trying
30
to
seconds.
take this down, including the one who is sitting here. She has the Home Builders Association of Delaware. She has Delaware Association of Realtors paying for you. And an interesting $25,000 donation to your campaign by Shell Brothers. And I'd want to know why we can't
First
have
of all-
a simple bill. That's it.
Excuse me, first of all, Mitch, you don't address me. Because I don't know who Shell Brothers is, and $600 is not enough to buy me, because I'm not for sale. First of all, I will say to you that this rent stabilization does not apply to the developers and the builders, because those are condos. So this doesn't really apply to them. Mr. Brevoort, you may proceed.
Oh, my name is Frank Brevoort. I'm a small landlord. My wife and I work together. We consider ourselves to be responsible landlords. You'll find us at sometimes at our property at 10 o'clock at night because a furnace went down and I can't get a repairman to go fix it. I'm there and my tenants say, Frank, why in the world are you here at 10 o'clock at night? And I said, well, I don't have anybody else. And they said, you have a job I would not do. Why? Because I care for my tenants? Because I go there at 10 o'clock at night? Yeah, okay. So over the last 30 years, and this was pointed out by the city of Wilmington, the cost of living went up 70%, right? My rents went up 70%. So I don't have an issue with staying with the cost of living. I do think, though, that we have forgotten something here, because you cannot get a 3% increase when it says 3% on this piece of legislation. Why? 2008, 2012, housing crisis. What happened? Our rents went down. We gave away incentives in order to get people to rent. So for 4 years, we went down. Now you say, okay, my rents went down 15%. When am I going to catch that up? At 3%.
30 seconds.
Not going to happen. City of Wilmington raised our business license fees from $10 to $75, 750% on a calculation that was a bit misguided, but everybody else, banks, every other business, got a 70%. My rents went up 70%, but my costs went up more. Plywood went from $15 to $75.
Time's up.
My painter went up from $15 to $44. We have costs. We should be able to cover them. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Brevoort. Daisy Rivers, are you here, Daisy? I don't think you want to hear from me again. Oh, sorry, I didn't check you off. Sorry, I skipped over Miss Olaide Adekambe. If you're still here, you can come forward. I do want to add that Mr. Brevoort was my mother's landlord many, many years ago. Very affordable, accepted Section 8, and took care of that property, and for that I thank you. Just state your name for the record, please.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Olaide Adekambi Koger. My partner who was up here earlier, he's an economist. I'm a scientist, a biologist. And so my niche is a bit different. But what I've studied in biology is that we have genes that are activators. They say go forward and do things. And we have genes that are repressors that say if you go forward, this can be dangerous. Because unchecked growth in our bodies is called cancer. And so when we have policies in our government that are intended to control unchecked growth of profits, they are to prevent us dealing with societal cancer. And when we talk about good landlords, good renters, bad renters, that has no difference to me, honestly. Because in every policy, we have to deal with good actors and bad actors. That is a given. But what I am here for, who I want to protect, are those people who have no choice. To the landlords out here, I understand that this is your income. You need to make money to feed your families. But at the end of the day, your portfolio is not more important than people being able to live. When you increase rents in a way that people cannot maintain, they lose their homes. What do they lose? They lose their neighbors. The guy who was shoveling snow because they can't do it with their leg. Now they don't have that neighbor. They lose their school districts. Their kids have to make new friends. You know how hard it was to make new friends.
30
Their jobs,
seconds.
they have to go farther from work. They're all little things in our lives that we have to deal with that are more important, even to you, than your portfolio. And I hope that the council members who are here today also recognize that we, the voters, are your foundation. We are who are important, because when those
10
landlords
seconds.
lose their properties, they become us. And we are fighting for everyone, not just people who have the resources. Thank you very much.
Lanita Brooks. Lanita Brooks, if you're in the chamber. After Lanita, we have Brother Howard Bay. Standing over there so patiently.
Yes.
Please state your name.
Hello, everyone. My name is Lanita Brooks. I'm a resident of the city of Wilmington. I live in Shawnee's district now. And I'm just here to say that I'm not here for my rent to go down. I pay $1,700 a month, which I think $1,700 a month, I could be living a little bit better for $1,700 a month. I don't think the 3-bedroom apartment I have is really worth $1,700, but I chose this move there out of a 2-bedroom that I was living behind the police station. Keep on upping my rent, but they don't want to fix nothing. But then when I moved out after 5 years, you want to sit up there and say, oh, you're going to charge me $200 for a carpet after I've been there for 5 years because you couldn't find nothing else, because I cleaned it to the T. I took videos and everything. So that's the only thing they could do is charge me for a carpet and give me $500 back. Okay, you have fun with that $200 that you took out of that security deposit and give me the rest of it. But anyway, like I said, like y'all gotta see the issue in Wilmington. Y'all walk around here, y'all drive around here, y'all see all these homeless people walking with their kids, their families. Like, I don't see how y'all sleep at night. Some of y'all, not all of y'all. I don't see how you sleep at night. I know some of your families going through the same thing that we going through. I got to sit up there and pay $1,700 in rent, then took on another responsibility to pay, like get my mom somewhere else to go because she was living in an apartment that filled with mold and getting her sick and stuff. So now I'm taking on that responsibility, making sure my mom can live a couple more years. Like, you have family, you have a mom, a dad, or whatever. Like, you're not thinking about us. We voted you in, and we're going to vote you out.
After that, if Candace Santoro or Christina Kelly are in the chambers, you are next.
Yeah, my name is Howard Bay. I want to thank the chambers for letting me speak. I'm not going to take all my time. I'm just going to be as real as I can. All right, so first of all, I'm not singling out anybody. I'm not talking to any particular council person. I'm talking to all the council persons. Y'all can't sit here and act like this sister just came up with this bill today. Y'all all got directories of each other's phone numbers, and if you had a problem with this, you could have handled that behind this particular day. So that's one. So don't come up here, especially people that are new jacks, to come up here and say, oh, I think we should table this. Well, let me tell you what tabling did. Tabling brought a position for us to have the Wilmington Land Bank. What happened? That was a fail. The Wilmington Land Bank sold us out and gave it to all the developers that you see coming up here. Now, what I'm hearing is a bunch of generational wealth people come up here and say, I want my slaves to behave. And I got to be very careful with this because they're coming up here talking about second generation, third generation of money. And you have developers helping, right, to keep that money. Now, the last point I'm going to make, I've got a couple more points, but I know my time is running fast. It's just ironic that way. But the reality of it is that you have grassroots organizations here who are willing to show that we can give pride in our communities. But we don't get that help from the city council. So what can the city council do? The city council, this is your option. This is your position. Vote yes or vote no. But I hope and pray that when the checks come, the investigation come, that none of your names be on that. Because what I hear is corruption. And so you know what that is? That's a federal suit. And so I pray that we don't have to set a precedent in Delaware. Because even the state, even the president of the United States, when his exit, he agreed to have something like this, a renter control.
10 seconds.
So let's be that change in the city council. Other than that, I'm gonna encourage all the grassroots organizations. Let's start getting those lobbies, right? Let's start going to the state building.
Time's
Let's come
up.
out in front of this building. Let's start calling our press conferences. Let's start calling those lawyers, the ones that look like us, because I don't see Italy up in here. Little Italy don't got these problems. Just the urban community.
Brother
So,
Bay,
with
thank
that,
you.
I'm gonna yield my time.
Thank you. I'm gonna yield. Candace? Santoro or Christina Kelly? Terrell Johnson?
Hello?
Yes. Please
Thank
state your
you.
name.
Good evening. My name is Christina Kelly. I am here to express my fierce and unapologetic support for rent stabilization. Because let's be honest, luxury development in our city is not sustainable. And it's not just unfortunate, it's unjust. Families are being forced out of their homes. Seniors are skipping meals to pay rent. Workers who keep the city running, teachers, nurses, grocery clerks, public servants are being priced out. Meanwhile, we're told to be patient, that the market will sort it out, that if we wait long enough, maybe trickle-down economics will start working the way they've never worked before. How long are people supposed to wait? How many more neighbors need to leave? How many more kids need to switch schools mid-year because their parents couldn't make rent? Let me be clear, rent stabilization is not a radical idea. What's radical is expecting people to absorb 30, 40, even 50% rent hikes while everything else from groceries to medicine also keeps getting more expensive and pay stays stagnant. And I'm frankly disappointed by how quickly some of you were willing to abandon the people in favor of protecting profit margins. Where's the outrage over landlords gouging tenants? Where's the accountability for corporate property managers who exploit every loophole to squeeze out more cash? Despite what the prior and obviously current administrations believed, you cannot build a healthy, thriving city by pushing its people out. And to those worried about investor confidence and landlord returns, I say this: what profits exist without the people? You
30
can't have a
seconds.
strong economy if no one can afford to live where they work. So tonight, I'm not here to beg. I'm here to remind you all of your duty to all of us, not just the ones who can afford lobbyists, not just the ones who can send donation checks, but to the workers, the elders, the single parents, the students, the people who call this
10
city home,
seconds.
the people who put your butts in those chairs. People over profits, because without people, there are no profits.
Thank
Do
you.
it right. Do it just. Not stabilization now.
Thank you. Sharita Brooks. Is Sharita Brooks here? Thank you. Then we have Terrell Johnson and Imar. If you're here, please line up. And those are the three last names we have.
Okay.
You will be bringing up the rear.
Good evening. My name is Sharita Brooks, and I live in the 2nd District. So I'm basically here tonight because I wasn't going to come, but I felt the need to come because I have young adult children that are impacted by or will be impacted if this resolution passes or this bill passes. So I'm here tonight because I personally have been or seen people that have been affected, including my dad, rest in peace, Dad, by having to make the decision whether or not to buy his medication or pay his rent. It's been times he had to reach out to his daughters to ask for help. I've watched my sister work 100+ hours just to be able to take care of her family and also help my mom move in her apartment. So I work in code enforcement for Newcastle County. I see families decide to live in motels, rundown motels, just because they can't afford rent prices, the high rent prices. It saddens me. It saddens me, and I'm so grateful that I'm able to, afford where I live at. But I just want to say this, just like everybody else, has said, the people that sit in these seats tonight, remember, some of you guys just forgot about the people, and it's sad. It's really sad that you forgot about the people. Always remember that the people voted you in. They could vote you out. And also, my last thing I want to say, it's not called, I believe this is called rent exploitation, and it equals greed.
Please state your name for the record.
I actually wanted to ask if you could give me time to speak because I have a neurological disorder. So if it would be...
Okay, that's fine. We can give you an additional minute.
Okay. Okay. So my name is Imana Smarian.
Please put the microphone closer to you, so we can hear you.
So my name is Imana Smarian, and I just wanted to say that I feel that most people are going back and forth when it's not really the landlords that's the issue or the tenants. It really is the government and the legislators and the governmental officials. They have been derelict of duty. It is their responsibility to ensure that we have stabilized housing. There have been, for decades now, a bottlenecking that has been happening for so long, and they have been ignoring that. They knew that this was happening. I thought it was interesting that before COVID, there were a lot of storage units that were being built, like large storage units, for as if they knew that this was going to be happening. It's strange, and I just wanted to, point that out. The other thing that I wanted to say was that there is housing on, I think it's called East Lake, Governor Prince. They received, I believe, like $250,000 or so to renovate it. It's empty. Why is that empty? People keep talking about how we have all these people homeless on the street, but you don't have any of the legislators who are they know that this stuff is empty. That landlord received funding that was taxpayer funding. No one's holding that person accountable. Why are people on the streets instead of them ensuring that the funds that went into that property to house the homeless people? And landlords, we greatly appreciate you, but at the same time, spending lots of money lobbying legislators instead of to tell them to put caps on rent, you could be lobbying them to change things instead that will benefit you and your tenants. Because if you are a true landlord who is a good landlord, you would ensure that your renters are not made refugees in their own nation, that they can root themselves and continue to flourish and prosper. And that is on the responsibility of the government officials. And again, landlords have more funding, more money, and you could stabilize us as a nation. But instead, all of you are fighting each other and pointing
30
fingers.
seconds.
But thank you.
You're welcome. We have one last person online, Phoenix. If you're able to speak, you are the last speaker.
Hello. I just wanted to say, why should anyone care about rent stability? I went through my own mental health crisis and had to rent on my own without any knowledge of how to do so. And I came from a middle class background with parents who have master's degrees. I have a master's degree, and I would ride the bus and pass the homeless and mentally ill, knowing that the only thing separating me from them was access to medical care and housing from my family. I went through a crisis, not having the proper medication or access to it, spiraled into bipolar, severe depression, and mania, and was not allowed back in my house. And during that crisis, I had to figure out how to rent. During that mental health crisis, I have been institutionalized. There are people who need rent to save their lives. I was literally suicidal and had to figure all this stuff out on my own. And what could I afford? A house in a very dangerous area of town that I had never been to. I didn't realize how dire the situation is for people who need to rent because of my background. And if you asked me if I cared about people who were poor or needed to rent, I would say, of course I did. But I had no idea.
30 seconds.
I had no idea the hell that people endure. There are people who need to rent because they're coming from abusive homes. There are people who need to rent because they're LGBT and being kicked out of their houses. I don't have time to go down the whole list of the dire need that people have, and finding
10
out that
seconds.
shelters are often full and don't have enough space. Please save lives and vote yes for rent stability.
Time's up. Thank you. Want to recognize that Councilman Spadola has joined us. At this point, first, I want to thank the 45 speakers that came here this evening in person and online. And regardless of whether you agree or disagree with the legislation, by being here today and giving your voice, that is important. You are engaging, and we like to see you engage, whether we're for or against something, whether personal attacks are made. It is important that you do come out and that your voices are heard, and we thank you for being here this evening. At this point, if any of the council members have any additional comments or the sponsor that they would like to make, I will let them go ahead and speak, and I'll make some closing comments as well. Councilman, no? Okay. All right.
I have closing comments.
No,
if
I
no
will.
one else has something to say.
You'll be listening. I'll call
You have something to say, Colby? Anybody?
Councilmember Shanae, I will definitely have you speak.
Yes. So thank you guys for coming out with your public comment, opposing and supporting this piece of legislation. I do want to just point out, before we do this vote, point out a few things, right? So talking facts, right? This administration has capacity and the money. What we're faced with in our current administration is mismanagement of funds, lack of efficiency, and policy driven by fear of regulation instead of the courage to protect people. This is not to penalize landlords, only bad actors. There are actually landlords who support this ordinance because they believe in fairness. The ones who exploit tenants with outrageous increases year after year are finally being checked. And if they leave, then that's fine. This is a business, and like every other business, it needs regulation. I also want to note that I launched the Landlord Engagement Lab probably about a year and a half ago. And there, a councilwoman, Christian Willauer, she was not a council person at the time, was on that initiative too. And there's also landlords behind me who was also in that initiative. And the Landlord Engagement Lab, I engaged with landlords in the city to talk about ways that we can advocate for landlords to have access to repair programs, an online registry, GIS mapping. I actively been currently working on L&I reform. These are not future conversations. These are things that I am doing now with other council members. Everyone has been invited. I send emails. And at this point, if you're not getting them or responding, you got to reach out or something. This legislation doesn't just close the conversation, it expands it. It also creates a housing stability subcommittee. So if you look in the piece of legislation, this subcommittee is to continue to talk about and have bold, balanced, and community-informed housing solutions. Rent stabilization was never pitched as a silver bullet. It's not meant to solve every issue, especially not vacant homes, as someone mentioned before. But it's a crucial step towards equity and survival. It gives our residents room to breathe while we build long-term affordability. You heard some landlords describe Wilmington, a predominantly black city. They called us druggies, destructive, inconsiderate. How dare we stand up to them? How dare we demand fairness? Either way, we are being pushed out, so we fight and we legislate. Because if this is the American pie, the racist, violent, and unfair pie that y'all are talking about, then we're going to take our piece. And that's what we're really being said. So when landlords say things like I worked hard or these tenants are on drugs, they're using coded racist language to remove accountability for their exploitation. In a majority black city like Wilmington, that kind of language isn't just disrespectful, it's actually dangerous. It criminalizes poverty, it assumes the worst about our people, and it protects a system that wants us gone. They want to make money off these black folks to fund their sweet lives while disrespecting us tonight. And that made their wealth possible. And let's not forget, these landlords didn't care until their profits were on the line to show up. I sit here at these city council meetings, sometimes I turn back and it's empty. I don't see them in here showing up for meetings and other things that impact their renters. And they say their renters are like family. But if you only show up for family when your money is being threatened, are you really family or are you just exploiting them? Real community means accountability. Real family shows up even when it's inconvenient. And someone else talked about data. I have data. Lower rent increases over time, and that's New York City's Rent Guideline Board in 2022. They have this study shows that rent stabilization slowed down rent growth. Also in San Francisco, they show that it helped keep low and middle income residents in homes. We also have the National Low Income Housing Coalition in 2021. They did a study, and they showed that in Portland, evictions dropped 20% after stabilization. You also have the Data for Progress, YouGov, in 2023, where 72% of renters and 53% of Americans support rent stabilization. Bipartisan support when framed around stability and affordability happened. Also, in the Urban Institution of 2022, rent-stabilized tenants are usually Black, Latino, and elderly. These policies help prevent displacement and housing discrimination. This piece of legislation tonight offers relief now while we continue the fight for deep structural change. So I urge, and I hope that my city council, as we do this vote tonight, so everyone understand we need, I believe, 5 people on our committee to get it out for us to have this conversation on the larger floor. And again, I also think it's dangerous, and I want to point this out because I'm going to point it out each time. And I think it's unfair to continue for certain council people to continue to paint this unfair narrative about me and not being inclusive or like they weren't a part of this conversation. I am constantly reaching out. I am a city council person that emails and texts people all the time. I know y'all are tired of me. Offering solutions, responding to concerns, and advocating for people. There are people who are sitting here, I know we don't agree on things, but we still have conversations. So to continue that narrative and bring it here is harmful. As a Black woman in leadership trying to continue this, it's just unfair. It caused me real mental and physical harm dealing with city council the last 4 years. And especially for a Black man to sit here and continue this narrative after it has negatively impacted me, I'm going to point it out each time. But tonight, I urge my council colleagues to respond or reach out to me when it matters the most. Especially, I'm reaching out to you or reach out to me. And I have a link for the public. You can go on the website at any time and schedule an appointment with me. Go to Wilmington City Council, click on Shanae Darby, Councilwoman Shanae Darby, and anyone in this room can set up an appointment with me. I've always been open. Anyone in this room can call me, text me. I give out my I don't even use my city council phone.
Councilmember Darby, President Congo, do you have any words?
Mental and
Last
physical been
comments?
impacted.
Okay.
And then for you as a black man to continue that narrative is hurtful.
Member Darby, we're going to go forward with a vote. I did want to make a few comments. This is a very important issue, and I, for one, will say that Councilmember Darby and I do go back and forth with emails, text messages,
Yes,
and
5, 6 o'clock in the morning,
we've
I'll be
often
up.
said we may not agree on every topic, on every issue, but it's important to communicate. We're not always going to be on the same page. We all agree, I believe that every council member agrees that there is an issue, and even the landlords agree that there is an issue with fair market rates, everything that has happened in the economy, and it's only going to get worse before it gets better with the tariffs and everything that's happening. And it's about fair and balance to the tenants so that they have clean, safe, affordable housing. And I stress safe because I'm very passionate about making sure that people are living in safe environments, and wish that more tenants would come forward and report their landlords and if they have a problem. And if you fear being evicted and you don't want to take action, please come to me because I have no issues. Going after slumlords is one of my number one priorities, and I actually like it. As far as working on affordable housing, as I stated when the meeting opened, I'm on the boards of 3 organizations that work on providing affordable housing in the community, and recently took in 2 people into my own home who did not have a place to live. I believe that this is an important piece of legislation, and it should go forth before the whole council. President Congo at one point had an idea when we first entered into the session that we shouldn't hold any legislation in committee, that things should go forward and let it go before the floor. I, for one, was in agreement of that, and President Congo can attest to that. So holding legislation in committee or killing it is not something that I want to do. So at this point, I believe this needs to be heard before all of the council. I will be supporting it for it to go forward. And I thank everyone that came here today. I think we still have more work to be done. I'm not sure which meeting it will be before. So maybe we might see another amendment before we go to the vote.
I'm open to that.
And that's what I appreciate about Councilmember Darby. She is willing to work. So let's see what consensus with the things that we heard today from the landlords and everyone that came to speak, how we can get to that point. At this point, I will call for the vote. Or did you want to have another comment before
No,
we
I just
vote?
want to make the motion to release.
Yes, please. Can I get a motion, please?
Can I make the motion to release substitute 1 to ordinance 25-061, ordinance to amend chapter 34 to provide for residential rent stabilization.
Second. It has been properly moved in second. All in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, so we will, I don't know the date because I understand that our next meeting is Our next council meeting is May 22nd. It has been moved so we can vote on the budget. It may be on that agenda, it may not. At this
Motion
point, can
to
I get a
adjourn.
motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. All in favor?
Second.
Thank you. Thank you.